Okay, you're live and ready, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Good evening, everyone. Call this meeting to order for a regular meeting of the Seldovia City Council. This will be a virtual meeting, combination virtual and in-person meeting for Monday, December 28th, 2020. Roll call. Morrison?
Here.
Rojas?
Here.
Peyton?
Here.
Nathan?
Here.
Sweat?
Here.
Kohlberg?
Here.
Okay, we have everyone in attendance and we do have a quorum. If everyone will please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
From which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, excuse absences, we have none. Agenda approval.
I'll make a motion to, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Vivian.
Oh, I'll make a motion to accept tonight's agenda of December 28th, 2020.
Second.
And do you have a second? Was that a second from John?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we do have a second from John. The motion is to approve the agenda before us tonight. All those in favor are Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Kohlberg.
Aye.
Agenda is approved unanimously. Item E, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and one vote. A council member may request to remove any items for discussion and a separate vote. Is there anything that council wishes to remove and discuss separately on the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead. We will go ahead and call for the question for the consent agenda. All those in favor, Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, point
Nita.
of order.
Yes.
Did we get a motion for that,
No.
for that approval?
Whoops, sorry, I wasn't sure if
Yep.
I heard one there. Sorry about that.
I'll make a motion. We accept the consent agenda as written.
I second.
Okay, we do have a motion from Vivian, second from Bobby to approve the consent agenda. Sorry again, Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Kohlberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve the consent agenda is approved unanimously. Item F, mayoral proclamations. This will be proclamation 21-01, a proclamation of the mayor of the city of Seldovia, Alaska, honoring Chief A.W. Andy Anderson and recognizing his many years of service and dedication to the community of Seldovia. As you all know, last meeting, unfortunately, that same day of our meeting, our Andy Anderson, longtime resident and chief of police for 32 years in the city of Seldovia, passed away. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and issue a proclamation. It's short. I will read it. And what I wanted to do is also just allow for anyone, if anyone wanted to add anything in addition or had any additional comments. I'm sure there'll be a number of opportunities going forward to recognizing all the years of service and everything that Andy's done for our community over the years. So I'll just read it real brief. City of Seldovia Proclamation 21-01, proclamation of the mayor of the city of Seldovia honoring Chief A.W. Andy Anderson and recognizing his many years of service and dedication to the community of Seldovia. Whereas Chief Anderson served the community of Seldovia as its chief of police with unquestionable character and integrity for 32 years and was the longest serving police chief for a community in Alaskan history. And whereas Chief Anderson was a husband, father, grandfather, published author, and beloved community member. And whereas the city is grateful for Chief Anderson's everlasting service and commitment to the city of Seldovia and its citizens. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Seldovia, on behalf of the entire city council and its citizens, do hereby recognize Chief Anderson's commitment to public service and honors his legacy and many contributions to Seldovia and the state of Alaska. So that was just something short myself and staff came up with. And I would just open it up if anyone has any comments, questions, or anything like that, wants to make any additions, or we leave it as is, and then I can sign that. You guys let me know. I'll go ahead and open it up at this time.
I've got something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think there's much more to say other than what you wrote. I mean, there is a lot to say, but for the purpose of this short meeting, we can just forego that. But Andy was a great guy, and I personally am going to miss him. Thanks.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I think you nailed it for Andy. And yes, he will be missed. He was quite the character, quite the gentleman, and loved Seldovia, had a lot of history here. He will be missed. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of storytelling as time goes on. But yeah, no, I think you did a good job with the proclamation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else?
Sure, I'll add to that,
Go ahead, Harmony.
Mayor. I agree with the previous statements that your proclamation is well written and well stated, and I would just like to add my just to echo the thoughts that he's a wonderful man. He was a wonderful contribution to our community, and is going to live on for a long time for a lot of us. And I would like to thank you for what you wrote for him, and offer my condolences for some of his closer friends, and those include the people who work in our city offices. So anyways, thank you, Mayor, for your words there.
Thank you, Harmony. Anyone else? Okay. I'd like to also thank Rachel for her additions and help in drafting that. I really appreciate that. So, okay, Heidi, do we need to do anything else with that, or we're good to go on that?
We are good to go, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And thank you everyone for your kind comments. I appreciate that. So, okay, we'll go ahead and jump down to item G, public presentation, prior notice. Looks like Representative Louise Stutz will be joining us this evening. I saw Matt on the line there. So Heidi, I'll go ahead and let you run that portion from here.
If you promote her to panelist, then we can see her. Did you do that already? Oh, it looks like you did. Hi, Miss Representative Stutz, we have you on the line.
I am here.
And we're just promoting you to
There we go.
panelist. There we go.
There we go. Let's see here. Do I need to do anything? Start video. Okay, I can start my video. So there you go. Here I am. And I guess I'm good to go. How is everyone?
Fantastic.
Great.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. And I hope we do this a little more often than we have in the past, because it's really important. And it's important for you to know where I'm coming from as your representative. So with that being said, let me start with, as if anybody's paying attention, we know that we don't have a majority in our House, or actually in our Senate as of yet. The House is stuck at a 2020 as we were 2 years ago. Let's hope that it doesn't go on to that degree that we did a couple years ago. But I feel it's important for you to know that I have chosen to remain with the coalition as opposed to a majority of all Republicans. And the reason for that is simply put, because of the district I represent. I believe that our Alaska Marine Highway system is absolutely critical to every single one of the communities that I represent. Every single one. And I don't believe that the Republican majority would support me in the Alaska Marine Highway system and the benefits that it provides, not only to coastal Alaska, but to all of Alaska, the way that the coalition that I belong to does. And to me, it's more than politics. It's about the people I represent. So I am sticking with the coalition for that main issue and our fisheries issues. And you know, I probably don't need to tell anybody that lives in Seldovia that the governor in his new budget has cut another almost $2.5 million to the Marine Highway system, which is another 5.5% reduction. Unconscionable. You know, I could speak on the Alaska Marine Highway system for an hour and a half, but I won't do that. But I just want you to know that the reason there's not a Republican majority, I don't want to say that it landed on my shoulders, because it didn't. But I believe in the people that I represent over the party. And so that's where I am. Let's see. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could talk about, and I'd be happy to go back and answer any questions on the Marine Highway system, and I will. But for the sake of not putting anybody to sleep, I'll move on. Let's see here. I think that one of the big issues right now in Seldovia is the Chinook salmon issue. And before I go any further, let me say online also is Matt Greening. Matt, are you there? I don't know if you can hear him if I speak to him.
I'm here, Representative.
Thank you. And Matt is my chief of staff for fisheries. And not only is he my chief of staff for fisheries, but he is also a fisherman. And so that's really, really crucial. And he does a superb job. And I just want you to know that if I don't know the answer to a question, I'm pretty sure Matt will. But I know that the reason I bring that up is we've been talking about the Chinook stocking program and what a huge issue it is to Seldovia in so many ways. And last Wednesday, Matt and I had a meeting with the commissioner, Doug Vincent Lang, over this very issue. And I have to say this, I'm very encouraged by the meeting. I mean, I feel like Seldovia has been slapped down 2 or 3 times with different things that have gone on. And we made that pretty clear to the commissioner. And we expressed our willingness to work with not only the department, but with Seldovia in order to prevent the moving of this stocking program over to Homer. And I think we've been pretty successful in that. And Matt has been intricately involved in that. And Matt, do you have any comments on that?
No, only I would just echo what you said, that I had a very positive feeling from the meeting, and we generally get a pretty good understanding of what direction they're thinking of heading on a particular issue. And I got the sense that if we work together with them on this, that we could be successful. And I really got a strong sense of that. So don't want to get too ahead of the issue, but I felt good about that meeting.
Great, thanks, Matt. So, and again, we're happy to entertain any questions on that. And I don't know if you want me to stop so you can ask questions now, or if you want me to finish up and then you can ask questions on anything that I have to say.
Yeah, that's fine. Why don't you go ahead and just keep on rolling while you're moving along there, and then we'll
Okay.
double back.
All right, I will do that. I know that nobody wants to spend a lot of time in these meetings. So let me just tell you about the bills that I'm looking at this next session. First of all, let me say that, of course, this next session is going to be mainly focused on the budget. And we are going to try and streamline personal legislation. But I've been very fortunate with the relationships I've made. And so I've been in leadership. And so I kind of have I don't want to say one step up, but one step up in so far as personal legislation. And this is what I'm looking at. First of all, we're going to bring back our conflict of interest bill for the Board of Fish. Again, we got it all the way through the House this last year, and it got stuck in the Senate. And it's a pretty simple bill. It says if you're on the Board of Fish and you have a conflict of interest, you can still participate in the discussions. You just can't vote. And the big question is, of course, with all the expertise that you might have, if you're eliminated from the conversation, what is the point of being on the Board of Fish? So that's what we're working on. We're also working on a bill. We're just now working on the draft of the bill, but it's a great concern to me having 4 Board of Fish members currently sitting on the board, making decisions that affect a lot of people's income and revenue, and huge decisions related to fisheries in this state that have not been confirmed by the legislature. So we need to address some kind of, we are looking at a bill that will prevent that from continuing on. And with these individuals sitting as board members, when in fact they clearly are not legitimate board members, having not been confirmed. So we're looking at a bill like that. We are looking at a bill to target funding for surveys through self-assessments in developing fisheries. And it would be structured around the Alaska Regional Dive Fisheries Association. But it would be for other developing fisheries statewide, such as the Prince William Sound Tanner crabs fishery. And what's interesting about this is the tax could be raised or lowered by the participants in each fishery. So what's really exciting about that particular bill is we are working in conjunction with the Department of Fish and Game. And when you have them on your side, you usually are one step up. So we're looking forward to that. We have refiled our legislation for the exemption of the DMV registration for CFEC registered vessels. That bill was not intended simply as a moneymaker, and to require dual registration didn't seem to be appropriate from my perspective. And so we've been working hard on that. We are also exploring a potential bill to allow crew licenses to be used for employees in kelp farming operations rather than the traditional workman's comp bill. So, you know, we're moving along, and, you know, on a good note, the 2020 AFD&G budget's looking pretty good. The governor has proposed a slight increase to the Comfish division. There is movement to bringing all the Comfish division under one umbrella rather than divisional. We're looking into that. We've had some conversations with Sam Raybung, and Matt can speak probably a little more to this. Sam Raybung is the director of Comfish. Great guy, loves his job, loves Comfish, loves our rural communities, and he seems to be supportive of it. I'm not quite there yet, but I've told Sam that, and so we're going to have a conversation when I get down to Juneau, so he can explain the total of that bill to me, so I can maybe feel a little more comfortable with it. And my concern, of course, is when something's vetoed, can we add it back into that particular area, or are we adding it back into Comfish as a whole, and then letting Comfish direct those funds? And that's my biggest concern about this bill. And Matt, what did I miss?
The one bill that I don't think got mentioned was the Alaska Marine Highway Reform Bill.
Oh, you're correct. You're correct. Thank you for that. On the Marine Highway, of course, I was on the Marine Highway Reshaping Group Committee. And they put forward forming a new or maybe an old committee with the old MTAP members to advise, I believe was their term, DOT. Well, heck, we've had that for years. The committee did not put any teeth into that bill. So we are looking at a bill to put some teeth into that bill. Like I said earlier, I could talk for hours on that because I was really disgusted. It was disgusting to me that the committee did not suggest we move forward with the building of the new Testamina when 90% of the committee agreed that was absolutely imperative to move forward with the new Testamina. I would say doggone near the whole committee agreed that we needed to forward fund the Alaska Marine Highway System, preferably for 5 years. Well, that's kind of a pipe dream. But if we could get 2 to 3 years, we would at least have some dependability in our scheduling. And I guess that's why I was so upset when I saw that the governor slashed the budget of the Marine Highway System, because nowhere ever did anyone suggest the budget being slashed. And so this new bill, anyway, I'm getting off subject here. The new bill that we are working on is going to put some teeth into this advisory board. I say advisory with a quote unquote, and it won't just advise, it will, I don't know that I want to use the word mandate, but it'll be doggone close to mandate information to DOT, and the board members will be qualified Marine Highway board members that have experience. I don't want to say Marine Highway, I want to say Marine Transportation. Did I get that all, Matt?
Yeah, no, I think you got it. I think that the issue that we've been working with around that bill is trying to get as much teeth as we can into it while still being constitutional. And that's kind of what we're dancing around. I think if we could have had our whole bite of the apple, we would have had some real specific language for you guys to look at. But we're still going back and forth with the drafters and trying to figure out a lawful way to do this.
So I would certainly be happy to take any questions that any of you might have.
All right.
Miss, oh,
Thank you, Representative Stutes. We'll go ahead and open it up. Council members, anyone have any questions?
yes.
Mayor,
Oh,
Yeah, Bobby, go ahead and then we'll get to, I think I heard George in there.
Okay. Well, obviously I have a question about that 2.5 million cut. So, Representative Stutes, how exactly does that translate over to the physicality of the ferries?
It translates into reduced service is where it translates. But that 2.5 cut, that's only what the governor is proposing. I've already talked to the members of my caucus, which hopefully we will move forward into being the majority. And they support me in absolutely not accepting that cut and adding a little more into it. And then the other good news is in this the new COVID budget federally, there are funds in there for transportation, and there should be funds in there that the Alaska Marine Highway System is eligible for.
Okay. And then one more question. If it has not been discussed any further to replace the Tustamina, what are the ramifications of that?
Well, it has been discussed. And the reason it's on the front burner is because we have the allocated funds to replace it. Here's the hang up. The Ketchikan shipyard, this is kind of a long way around this story, but the Ketchikan shipyard is funded by ADA, which is a state funding agency. So of course, if we can build the new Tustamina there, it would be fabulous because we'd be kind of helping ourselves. The problem is, and what has prolonged it, is the fact that we have $225 million worth of federal funds. And when you have federal funds, you are required to send it out for a free bid, which is the state is reluctant to do because they want to see it in Ketchikan. Now, I talked to the people at Ketchikan Shipyard, and their position always has been, send it out. We're going to bid on it. So.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood you when you said that the committee's recommendation about the Tustamina was not mentioned or something. I guess I misunderstood.
It was, okay. It wasn't in the report. The committee did not advise going forward with building the new Tustamina. They left that out, even though in our conversations during all the meetings we had, the committee agreed the Tustamina needs to be built.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's I could go on, but what people don't realize is we have several vessels that are being tied up down in Ketchikan that will never be put in service again. And this state is paying $90,000 a month for moorage fees. Now, how far could that go with service? Pretty ding dong far.
Yeah, that's something that's beyond my comprehension too. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for clarifying that. I did read that report, when we got it, but I've already forgotten 3/4 of it. So thanks for clarifying all that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I think it's worth mentioning one thing too, if I might, Representative. And it's about the same time that was happening. There was an amendment. When I say that, I mean the reshaping work group going. There was an amendment that the administration put into the STIP, which is the statewide improvement transportation. It's basically the project submission system that the state puts all its federal projects through. And they put an amendment in the STIP to move the Tustamina out to 2023, where there's an existing appropriation right now with money in it in statute that is set for construction on the Tustamina for 2021. So they're basically, the administration was proposing to move construction out to 2023 at the same time that the reshaping work group was discussing this matter. So I think that there's some politics obviously at play here, and one of our goals this year is, and we were kind of tag teaming with some Southeast representatives, unlikely, to do so, is to really harp on the administration to build it this year and not 2023. They're not necessarily saying we're not going to build it. They're saying, let's move it out and think about this. And then our position is, it's the design's there, the money's there. Let's move forward with it. You guys need it now.
Thanks for
Well,
that, Matt.
Yeah, and the longer it takes,
The more it costs.
like out of sight, out of mind, a little bit, so kind of, so. Okay, thanks again, and thank you for doing what you do to promote that, especially, I know there's a lot on your plate, but especially the Marine Highway issue. It's just so important that we just can't let that go.
Well, I can tell you this. When I heard that Seldovia wasn't going to have any service, I was so ding dong mad. I called Ben Stevens on his cell phone, and I told him I took it as a personal affront. And because you may not have great service, which I don't think you have. I don't think Seldovia has the service they deserve. But at this point, I was fighting for any service,
Right,
as
and we
opposed to
appreciate
no
that.
service. Yeah,
And we definitely appreciate that. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, I think I had heard someone in the council chambers. Did you guys have a question?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, George.
Evening, ma'am. George Nathan on the council here. I enjoyed your comments in the shaping letter, and a couple of the things we picked up on here was I think it's essential that we stop the argument we're in and get into a different argument. What I would say is that we believe that the Marine Highway system is just that. It's a highway. It's an infrastructure part that the state should supply. And if I don't think we should look at it as a money-making operation. Certainly, we should collect some revenue there. But if the whole transportation system is out of money or needs to be have some cuts made, then maybe the whole transportation system ought to bear some of these cuts. The highways certainly cost a bunch of money to maintain. We don't hear a peep about that. Second thing I wanted to run by you and see, get your thoughts. We're in the process of debating a letter to the governor to see if he would participate in one of these meetings, so we can talk to him in a little more detail about several ideas that we have, that being one of them. Let's see.
Well, insofar as asking the governor, I think absolutely you should. I think it would be very telling. We just had this conversation between the speaker and the Senate president and I, because the speaker and the Senate president had sent a letter to the governor over something specific, and we were talking about whether or not, I'll tell you frankly, whether or not Ledge Council should sue the governor over, let's see, what was the latest one? Not the school, but
The Board of Fisheries reappointments, maybe?
yes, thank you, Matt. Thank you. His appointments to the different commissions. And we wrote him a letter in the 1st of November addressing this and saying, Governor, we'd like to have a chat with you. We got no response. And I think it's critical for the people, say in Seldovia or in any one of my communities, I think you should write to the governor and see what response you get, because it will be very telling. Let me just say that. I try and choose my words carefully, because I don't want to give them a whole lot of room to retaliate against my district. But at some point, you just have to say, when do you stand up and scream, I'm mad as hell and I'm not taking it anymore?
One other question, if I might. The 4 vessels that you're talking about sitting down in Juneau, I believe the letter, the shaping report said it costs $2 million a year to have them sit there. And the state even mentioned that they would give them away if anybody wanted them. I don't know that we want any of those boats, but what sort of subsidy would be available to the city of Seldovia if we wanted to run our own?
Well, I guess it would depend. I'm sure that if the city of Seldovia were interested, I don't know. All I'm thinking to myself is I would work with you to make sure that there was some kind of subsidy if there were the availability of a vessel that could go, I would presume, between Homer and Seldovia on a fairly regular basis. That's what the state's looking for.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking the question. And I think if we kept that vessel to strictly vehicles and freight, we wouldn't be competing with folks that have to make a living at running back and forth to Seldovia from Homer, the couple of tourist boats we have, and the air taxis that have been in a very tough market for a long time here in around Homer and Seldovia. So I don't want to see us competing unfairly with someone else, but perhaps the state wants to get rid of us, fine. Help us set up our own boat.
Well, it's certainly worth pursuing if, I'm absolutely open to helping you in any capacity that I can.
And I would say that the administration does seem amenable to options like that if they were viable to alleviate some of their responsibility to operate a segment, and that certainly would do that. So I think if you could make the logistics work, it would be something I think that you could shop around with the current administration.
Yeah, Ted, I appreciate those comments. That discussion's come up a couple times between a few of us on council here. So there may be more to that, to come in the future. Obviously, we don't want to diminish the overall goal to keep the Marine Highway, system intact. But yeah, you start reading the report, the reshaping report, and it's not good. I mean, our options are pretty limited going forward here. So, yep, we're just going to keep all avenues open on our end as well. Keep working with you guys, obviously the best we can, and keep hoping that, something good comes our way. And if not, we'll start looking at other alternatives, because certainly we can't be without some sort of provider, for our vehicles and freight to get in and out of Seldovia. So that's critical lifeline, obviously.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yep, go ahead, Vivian, and then I'll get you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Representative Stutes. And thank you for your letter about the king salmon fishery and what you've been doing. And we hope that's going to work forward for us. And we'll keep you in the loop, and you keep us in the loop. But going back to the Alaska Marine Highway, as you know, it's like a sledgehammer hanging over our heads repeatedly. And what the importance of having a reliable Alaska Marine Highway. Do you think if this advisory board actually comes into being, would that be able to actually move this thing in the right direction? If you could explain more what the advisory board would actually be doing, would that be our golden goose in some way?
Well, that's what I'm hoping, because the anticipation and the vision of this reshaping group was this advisory board, rather than, I appreciate the fact that this advisory board is made up of community members that live in communities that depend on the Alaska Marine Highway. But as I said earlier, you need people that are involved in marine transportation. You need business people who can look at the whole big picture. And I'm an optimist, and I'm an Alaska Marine Highway believer. I believe in it, and I don't believe that our highway system is any less legitimate than the highway between Anchorage and Fairbanks. But I believe if we got people on that board that had the knowledge of a little bit of this, a little bit of business, a little bit of marine transportation. One of our biggest supporters actually is Lee Ryan, whose family started Ryanair. He's really got this huge vision, and a huge vision of what the marine highway system can do for the economy, not only of coastal Alaska, but untapped Alaska as a whole. So yeah, I really do. I don't know that it'll be the golden goose, but I'm a true believer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I guess my last question would be, what should Seldovia be doing to support just keeping our squeaky wheel squeaky?
Yep, absolutely. Keep squeaking. That's what you got to do.
All right. Thank you, Representative Stutes.
My pleasure.
Okay, Pearlie, you had a question?
Yeah, Representative Stutes, they made a $2 million and some cut on the Marine Highway. Were there any cuts made on the road from Anchorage to Fairbanks, or from the Seward Highway from here to, were there any cuts made in them departments?
Well, I don't know if there were any new cuts, but I know that there's some real concern going on now with road maintenance. But to me, no. Here's what I will tell you. Over the 6 years that I have been on, underneath DOT, the Alaska Marine Highway by far has taken a larger hit than any other part of any other road system or airport system.
Could I have a follow-up on that? Is there ever any revenue of any type charged for people to use the Seward Highway or the Richardson, or is there any type of?
No, and I suggest
there's no toll roads. There's no toll roads in Alaska.
That's correct. And interestingly enough, 2 years ago, when Governor Dunleavy first got elected, when he came to Kodiak, I asked him specifically about the Marine Highway system, and he was a huge supporter. And by Jove, it was as important as any other road in the state. And then we see what happens, and he cuts it and he cuts it. And I asked him, I said, so Governor Dunleavy, if, we're in such a tough shape, why not put a toll on a road? And his comment was, well, I thought about putting a toll between Canada and Alaska. And I said, how about putting one between the Mat-Su and Anchorage, or Fairbanks and Anchorage? Well, he kind of choked up and kind of said, and I said, well, that's my opinion.
But in turn of that, he doesn't choke up when he charges me $120 to send a vehicle over. I kind of consider that a toll to use our marine highway. That's why are we getting charged to use our highway when nobody else gets charged to use theirs?
I agree with you totally. And I said to him, I said, Governor, you realize that we are the only people that pay to get onto our highway system. Absolutely. No, I trust me, I'm in your camp.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Pearlie. Anyone else? Okay, well, you guys might be off the hook early tonight. So I'm sure you have a lot of these meetings you guys attend to. I just wanted to say, from my perspective, thank you guys for keeping up the fight. Obviously, the ferry, as you mentioned, number one priority during this session. We've got a big grassroots movement here in Soldovia on our Chinook salmon stocking. That has not gone unnoticed by a lot of people. Vivian on council is a champion of that for sure. So we will all keep the good fight up on that. And then obviously you've got a number of bills you're working on this session. So obviously it's a long road ahead. Hopefully you'll be successful in getting into the majority over in the House there. That would actually go a long way, obviously. So yeah, and in follow-up, if we have anything, we'll reach out to you guys. And Matt, we appreciate, obviously anything he has to add or can help us out with on the fisheries side of things too. So Rachel, do you have any additional comments or anything, or nope, all good? Okay. All right, you guys. Well, thank you. In closing, thanks for participating tonight. And we'll look forward to doing this again.
Well, thank you. And I just really want to say thank you for the opportunity. And it's been really nice working with Rachel. She's been great reaching out to our office, and we will stay in touch with her insofar as your agendas and your meeting schedule. And we will try and accommodate you at every opportunity we have. And again, I want to say I feel very hopeful insofar as the salmon situation in Soldovia. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We will keep you at the top of the loop on knowing what's going on. It's always an honor and a pleasure. I've been to Soldovia 2 or 3 times, and it's a fabulous place, and I love it. And I want you to know that any one of you or any Soldovian that has any questions or issues, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Matt. And I'm sure that Rachel has our numbers, but the best number would be 465-3271. That's Matt, and he's the big cheese in the office.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you guys again. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for sharing that number again. So, okay, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and
You too.
we're gonna keep through it here.
Good luck.
Have a good
Thank you
night.
very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good
Thanks
night.
for having us.
To you all.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
too.
Same to you. All
Okay.
right. Well, we're moving on. That was good information. I appreciate the questions from everyone there. So obviously she's got her work cut out for this session. So lots of big things to work through. So let's see. Next up, item G2 is under public presentation prior notice is Stephen Payton with the Soldovia Fish and Game Advisory Committee.
Hello.
Hey, Stephen.
Hey, thanks for the invitation and having us present. So I guess I was asked to come on and give a kind of brief overview of what the AC is. And so I took this straight off of ADF&G's website, but we're groups that are local groups that meet to discuss fish and wildlife issues, provide a local forum for those issues, and make recommendations to the Alaska Boards of Fisheries and Game. And so we can develop proposals, we evaluate proposals that come up, and we provide a place for people to have a conversation about issues that are coming up in our area. So the biggest one that I guess came up this last round was the Chinook stocking has been brought up tonight. And the AC, we voted to create a comment letter that we are against the proposed stocking plan. We also talked about several other proposals that affect the area. I think most importantly, there's a few that had to do with the clams in the area. So they're proposing to completely close the personal use clam fishery for little necks and butter clams, lowering the number that you can get for razors on the east side. I believe it was here. And the AC voted we agreed with closing the personal use fisheries. Quoting right here out of the proposal, where ADF&G monitors, they have three sub areas: Jackalope Bay, China Poop Bay, and Chugach Island. And they've seen declines of 94 to 100% from their historic densities. And so we thought it was pretty obvious that, and anybody that goes out there and digs has seen that. Yeah, it's a good idea to close or reduce that fishery. Not exactly sure.
I think the biggest issue I think is
Yeah, what else I should get into? So yeah, the kings and the clams were kind of the biggest ones. There's another one about being able to only get one registration permit per species while hunting in Alaska. And so the way it's laid out, it's kind of like a blanket thing where it would affect the entire state. And the person that proposed it was from the Kenai Peninsula. And we thought maybe it'd be good to say that this rule would only apply on the Kenai Peninsula. So you could get a registration goat tag here in Seldovia, and then also get one in Kodiak, let's say. I think that was the main thing that came up. If there's anything else that or any questions people have.
Yes,
I just kind of rambled there, sorry.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment. Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time. This is the first time since I've been on council that we've had, I think, someone from the AC come in and talk to us. And I just want to reiterate for people that don't know about the AC, how important it is at I spent 3 years on the Alaska Board of Fisheries, and the local Fish and Game Advisory Committees carry a lot of weight when it comes to public testimony and written comment on specific proposals for their area. So as citizens, the best way we can write letters to the board, but the good thing is to go and plead your case in front of your local AC. And then if you can have a compelling argument and convince your local AC, the other, I think, Stephen, do we have a 7 or 9 member board of our local AC?
I think we're 7.
7. Yeah. If you can convince your AC, on your cause and they're on board, then they're going to do the same thing. They're going to throw their support behind something. And then that in turn will go up to the state level when the final deliberations come out at the board meetings, both Board of Fish and Board of Game. So myself and Vivian both attended this last one. Yeah, there was great discussion. You have a lot of access to department personnel, area biologists, area managers. So it's usually a pretty easy open forum for people to ask questions. So yeah, it's a good thing to get involved with if you're a sportsman and you like to hunt, fish, if you're a conservationist, all the above. So appreciate you coming in. Those are just my comments. Anyone else on council have any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yeah, Vivian.
Yeah, Stephen, thank you very much for coming forward. And how often do you meet? How often does a local AC meet?
Well, we can meet basically whenever we can get everybody together. We have to give a 2-week kind of heads up to the public, because all these meetings are open to the public. So as long as we inform everyone, I think it's 2 weeks ahead, we can have a meeting anytime. So it's just when Michael corrected me. So I'm the secretary for the AC. Michael is the president, and we need a quorum of 5, and we are a AC of 9, actually.
Okay. And so when do you meet with the Alaska board? Do you have set quarterly meetings, or is it once a year? Because I know at the end of the meeting last time, Stephen, the other night, I heard him say something about meeting in September. So are your meetings with the Alaska board that far apart in a year?
Well, we meet when the new proposals come out so that we can discuss them for the fisheries and board of game. And they're on a, what is it, a 2-year cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, twice per year. Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't, yeah, the board comes together then, and we can actually send an AC member to the board of game or board of fish meetings to plead our case and yeah, come forward with the community's
Right. Right.
issues
Well, I
and
appreciate.
worries or
Right.
our own.
Right. Well, like Jeremiah said, Stephen, I think there's a lot of issues that come across your table that for hunters, fishermen, anglers, enthusiasts of nature, and it's really important that we know. So I appreciate you coming forward, and maybe we can, I think the council agreed that having you or some representative could come and report to us what's going on. That would be great. And thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
No,
thank you.
and yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, thanks again for inviting us. It really is important. Like, the more community input we can have, the better. Like I said, they're open to the public every meeting we have, and the more people we could get involved, the better. I mean, everybody wants to know what's going on with hunting and fishing rules and regs around here. So
Yeah, appreciate that, Stephen. And again, it's an easy process. It's all made up of, local fellow citizens that want to have a say on how how our fish and game laws are written and implemented in the state of Alaska. So it's a pretty neat system that we have here. So any other questions from council? Okay, Stephen, thank you. I appreciate you calling in tonight. And yeah, maybe we'll get you on here again later in the fall after the fall meeting.
yeah, I'd be glad to. Thank you.
Okay, have a good evening. All right, next on the list, item G3, we have Aaron McKittrick, our HEA board representative.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Hey, Aaron, we got you loud and clear.
Okay, great. I don't know if it's possible, but for me to show you guys a couple little graphs, but if it is, I will, and if not, I can just talk. So I don't know who would be the person to ask about that.
Heidi should be able to allow you to share your screen.
Would that be okay, Heidi?
Yes, let me get you, I'm gonna promote you to panelist and then allow you to share your screen.
All right, thanks. I'm not going to take a whole lot of your time here because there have been so many lovely presentations, but because it's kind of the end of the year, and at the end of the year we do the HEA sort budget process, I thought I would just take a couple minutes to give some kind of basic where the money comes from and goes to at HEA, because I thought people might find that interesting. So here's, let's see if this works. This is the first. Can you guys see?
Yep, it just popped up.
Okay, so got three things. This is basically where HEA money comes in. So residential is where most of the money comes in, closely followed by small commercial operations, and then the smallest amount is from the large commercial and industrial customers. And another little graph here that is rates. People, this is just the residential rates, not the commercial or the industrial, but people often wonder what HEA rates are doing and what happens when they vary. And so there's basically two components of your power bill. And the darker brown stuff at the bottom is the rate that we actually, you know, vote on and set as a board. And that doesn't change all that much. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. It did go up last year and probably won't this year. There's nothing in the budget for a rate, in that we did not put any raises in the budget. And then that top stuff, that red, that's the cost of power adjustment. And that one is kind of changes quarterly and it's all over the place. And that's basically directly follows fuel costs. So if the fuel costs go up, the next quarter's cost of power adjustment goes up. If fuel costs go down or we have more hydropower that month, then the cost of power adjustment goes down. And so that is, you know, you can see it's roughly 8 cents of the per kilowatt hour rate, and that will usually changes at least a little bit every quarter because it's following whatever the actual cost was. And that just, I've just put a graph of what it's done over the past, I guess 2012, I think is what I've got on there. And the last little bit of background information is kind of, categories are rough, but this is approximately where all that money goes in a given year. The biggest things by far are fuel and depreciation and interest, each of which takes about a third of the budget. Hydropower, we get, you know, we pay our part of Bradley, which is cheaper than any other power, but still costs something. A lot of it is maintaining power plants and power lines. Administrative is everything from credit card processing fees to maintaining the Homer. And then there's also just the widely categorized. And the reason I thought that stuff up there is it's good kind of general background information, and also I wanted to know if anybody had questions. I know that last time we talked a lot about the generator, and the reason I'm not talking about the generator this time is that Brad and Larry and some of the other HEA folks had that meeting where they were trying to explain some of the technical details that I don't necessarily know. But if you have any more questions on that weren't adequately answered then, or any questions on anything else, I would be happy to answer what I can and write down anything that I don't know the answer to, and I can take it to the next meeting in mid-January.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yep, thanks, Aaron. Pearlie, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Does HEA buy power from private individuals if they had some kind of a power source that they could feed back into the lines?
Yes, to a very small extent, yes. That rate is basically set to be more or less the same as the COPA. So the way it's set up is that it's a wash from the HEA budget perspective, but not necessarily from the perspective of the person who has the power. Now, if you have power and you use it yourself, before you feed it back into the line, that'll give you somewhat, an extra benefit there. But if you're feeding it back and it's going to somebody else, then the rate that person gets paid is about the cost of fuel.
And what's the amount of it's all kind of Greek to me, but kilowatts, amps, what would somebody have to produce to feed it back into the lines? Well,
Basically, anything more than you use, right? If you put a solar panel on your house, you get, and you're presumably using some of that power in your house. But if you produce even 1 kilowatt hour extra, HEA would pay you 8 cents for that extra kilowatt hour. Now, you would also still be paying the same customer service charge as any other customer. And if you don't use much electricity, which is presumably true, if you're making extra, you also have to pay a system delivery charge. So that person actually make money straight up. They'd have to basically make enough extra kilowatt hours to cancel out the $45 or so a month they'd be charged just for being part of the system.
Right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess one more follow-up with that. Is there any stipulations on that, whether can it be hydropower, wind generation, solar?
Anything like that would work. And from the perspective of something like a city, as an individual, it would be hard to, most people don't have access to things like hydropower, and it would be hard thing to feed enough back to make anything from, say, a solar panel in Alaska. But if you were, although you would be offsetting your own use, but something like the city water supply system could potentially be a source of enough hydropower to actually make the city some money from something like that. And yes, hydropower, wind power, all that counts. You can't hook up your own diesel generator to the grid, but any renewable power would be fine.
Are you up on the stats on that, of how much? I had done some research a few years ago, 500-foot level, traveling down 500 feet would generate so much power.
Hig has actually looked into some of the numbers on that. So before I try to misremember them, I'll ask. There's various different ways it could be done with different levels of expense. Some things I think are simple as just to stick right in the existing pipes. So I think that it'd be good research, but there's definitely the potential for the city to, get some of its electric bill covered or make some money from looking into what from that. I may not work, but it might work great.
And that could be something that could be installed right into the overflow pipe or.
Yeah, I know there was at least one thing, and I can, if you want, I could ask, I know Hig has looked into it some. I could get him to put together something with some, preliminary numbers and bring it back to you guys just to think about, because I think it's an interesting idea. I mean, the water's there, it's going downhill anyway. It'd be great to get some some benefit from that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pearlie. Thank you, Aaron. Anyone else on council have any questions? Short and sweet tonight, Aaron. That sounds sounds good.
Figured since we had 2 presentations before me, I should keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. We appreciate it. Yeah, I know there was a lot of discussion at that last meeting about communications and stuff, and I think we've already had a little improvement on that. So I know that's a moving ball, and so I won't beat that one up. But I know I think things improved a little bit here with this last outage we had, and so that's good. So we'll just hope that things do continue in that area in the future. And obviously, thank you for sharing that budgetary information. It's good, whenever we have you to get bits. We're never going to understand a public utility, in its entirety, but to get little snapshots of pieces here and there, that's helpful for everyone involved when it comes to the decision-making process. So we appreciate what you do for Seldovia, and thanks for participating in everything over there.
You're welcome. And feel free to continue. Like if you had questions that the HEA Zoom meeting folks didn't answer last time, or you still have issues with communication, feel free to make noise. You can see it helped, right? I don't mind if you make noise to me or Brad or both of us. I think that's kind of how things work sometimes. Like you guys were, like with the fairies and the fish, like squeaky wheels are useful sometimes.
Yep, that's how it works. So, okay, cool. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. And you have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. All right, that's going to take us to item H, public presentations for items not on the agenda. Heidi, do we have anyone raising
We do,
their hands?
Mr. Mayor. We do. We have a Miss Laurel Hiltz from the public.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, got you loud and clear, Laurel.
Excellent. Well, just some community notes to share tonight. The Chamber conducted its lighting contest of Christmas decorations, and the judges selected for the winning house out Jackaloff Bay Road, Paula Elsas, and Tyler Tucker's place, and with the help of the boys. And then Alan and Corey. And then the business that won was Jack and Ava's with their what are they called? I lost track of it. I've lost Christmas already, but great ornaments, great decorations. The tree that Mr. Smith put up again, and boy, what a great tree. And then the winds came the next day after the judging. So thankfully, before the damage was done to his tree, the judges had a chance to see it. And then the People's Choice selection was Jordan and Cassidy Cameron's place. And I think if you got to the right place along the harbor, you could even see their place across the slough. And if not, drive up over there and check it out. It's pretty awesome. Some other Christmas things in the community was the Kennedys who hosted a community Christmas there at Jack and Ava's. Really appreciate that. And they also did that at Thanksgiving. And then a big shout out to the businesses that were open coming up into the holidays, ranging from the new trading post to the folks at the post office for getting boxes out. And of course, everybody at Smoky Bay Air and helping bring all of that in. And a big thanks to the community for helping with the Santa shop. We had donations enough for 40 children to shop and buy presents, and they were all wrapped. And they also got to visit with Santa Claus. All the kids in town had a chance to get stockings from Santa Claus this Christmas. And then the annual food box distribution went out to 48 households. And that was a collaboration, again, with the chapel and the tribe. And the freight was donated by Caravan Transfer. We greatly appreciate their support. And then this year we were joined in our efforts by the folks at the Lutheran Church. So all around a really great holiday, I hope. And just the community reaching out to one another, really appreciated that. So coming up, we've got the New Year's Eve, the Seldovia Bible Chapel is hosting a potluck. Their annual potluck will be at 6 p.m. at the chapel. 9 o'clock is the community fireworks. And then for teens, there's a chaperoned party that takes place at the Seldovia Conference Center hosted by SVT. And that goes from the time of the fireworks until 12:30. So those are the things that are happening in the next week or so. And look forward to seeing you all in the new year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Laurel. I don't know, did you mention about the Christmas caroling?
Oh, I did not. So yes, that's correct. I did hear that somebody did block your way down the stairs, Mr. Mayor, because that you were trying to get down there to that, but she was smart to know you shouldn't yet. But we did have a great caroling event, and a big thank you again to the city for the use of the tree, the lights, and all the folks that got involved and participated in that. It was a really nice way to kick off our holiday season here.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you. And I'll just quick story. Me and Angela were sitting on the couch and talking. We were just talking about some of the things we used to do when we were kids around Bear Lake and stuff and Seward.
Oh, yes, yes.
We were talking about Christmas caroling and how going around on snow machines and Christmas caroling around Bear Lake. And it wasn't 10 seconds later and our door rang with a knock at the door.
Oh, yes.
Angela goes out there and there's everybody standing out there singing Christmas carols. I couldn't believe it. It was just pretty awesome. So yeah, that was kind of a neat little deal to our night. We really appreciated that. And I was pretty thankful to everyone that swung by. So that was a nice touch for sure.
And you're welcome. And that's an annual tradition of the Seldovia Bible Chapel. And boy, we do it rain or snow or sleet or ice or hail. And sometimes it's blowing quite the dickens out there. So it was cold, and it's possible we sang really fast.
Yeah, it wasn't very nice out. So you guys sounded great. So I appreciate it again, everything. So
right.
Thanks for the community update on everything.
Thank you.
Okay, Heidi, anyone else?
I don't see any more hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we're going to item I, Committee and Advisory Board reports. We have Dr. Kirk Zink from the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory. Is Dr. Zink on tonight?
I do believe so, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Dr. Zink, are you on the line?
I think so. Can you hear me?
We got
can.
you here.
You do? Okay. Thank you. I'm here to talk about the activities of the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory Council, and to just provide you with a brief kind of summary of what's been going on. The council monitors transportation of oil from the pipeline terminal in Valdez through Prince William Sound. So we advise and work with oil companies to promote and maintain environmentally safe transport. And it's a nonpartisan organization that's funded by Alaska and responsible to Alaskans' government and industry. In the time since I came aboard, which was May of 2019, I've attended board of directors meetings, many special topics meetings, and recently I joined the Legislative Affairs Committee, which monitors legislative activity and lobbies in Washington, D.C. and Juneau. And as of February, all our meetings have gone to online, thanks to COVID. Some of the current focus of items that are currently focus of the council is what I'm going to review here. And I also want to add that this is my take on things, based on my current understanding of what is happening. The first item that's of prominent on the, interest agenda, whatever, is the ownership transfer of BP assets to Hilcorp. As of December 18th, Hilcorp has acquired the BP's pipeline ownership. They had acquired BP's share of Prudhoe Bay Fields on July 1st. And so now they own 49% of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System and 49% of Alyeska Service Company. There are some concerns that around this acquisition, and I think it's important to be aware of them. One of the concerns is the ability of Hilcorp to maintain adequate funding to ensure spill-free storage and transfer of oil to tankers at the Valdez terminal. The concerns include Hilcorp's commitment to employing adequate numbers of workers and crews to continue the timely and effective maintenance of storage facilities and equipment. Secondly, Hilcorp has a history of spills, accidents, and delayed or inadequate responses to problems in their North Slope and Cook Inlet operations. These date back to 2012, when the company first arrived in Alaska. One of the things I will say is, as I hear this, I'm not sure how their record compares to other companies. I do think there are things to be concerned about and monitored as they continue. Finally, the purchase from BP of $5.6 billion has stretched Hilcorp's resources. So early this year, when oil prices crashed, Hilcorp negotiated a restructured financial deal that lowered their early payments to BP. What this is leading to is with a new owner company taking over some of this operation, we as Alaskans need to ensure that they continue to meet the obligations, contractual obligations agreed to by the original developers of the pipeline. This includes maintenance of adequate funding for prevention and responding to oil spills, and for dismantling and cleanup once the pipeline ceases to operate. And the dismantling and cleanup part of this has just started to be talked about. It's in Alaska's interest to ensure that we aren't left with responsibility for dismantling, restoration, and cleanup of the oil fields pipeline and the Valdez terminal. A second item of ongoing concern, and one that I've been before the council previously on, is the DEC, Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation scoping process. In the late fall of 2019 and continuing in the spring of 2020, I brought to your attention the issue of a scoping process that's being conducted by DNR. This involves the examination of regulations that govern safety, spill prevention, and environmental protection during the transport of oil. According to the DEC commissioner, this examination is being conducted in response to complaints that current regulations and contingency plans are burdensome and onerous. Unfortunately, Alaskans have been provided with little evidence that these complaints exist in real time. They are numerous, or that the concerns represent a significant portion of our population. The council doesn't know if the complaints come from citizens, industry, or both. The commissioner refuses to identify who in general voices these concerns and continues to describe them as a lot of people. Further, the regulations have been investigated and revised 9 times, and that figure may be off, maybe 7 to 9 in the past years. This scoping process has continued far beyond the time it was allotted by the state to complete it. From my perspective, there hasn't been any progress or action in this investigation after the public comment period ended in August of 2020. Comments by Alaskans posted online, last I looked at them, numbered a little over 100. And this is a real rough guess, but about 90% of them appear to support existing regulations. The regulations appear to be working and at present, and there's been no major spill. Seldovia submitted a letter of opinion on that also, the council did. The next item is the monitoring of boat traffic in Prince William Sound. The council has repeatedly expressed concern to the U.S. Coast Guard in regard to radar and VHF operations in Prince William Sound. Both systems are out of commission at time. radar equipment is not working at this time and is described as outdated and broken. Now, the Coast Guard in Alaska is generally responsive. However, this issue has not received adequate attention, and that may rest with the Coast Guard headquarters in Washington, D.C. The issue is of high importance because it plays a part in preventing collisions, in locating vessels and responding to problems that develop, and locating other boats that travel in Prince William Sound. While tankers are the focus of concern, it is imperative that monitoring systems enable vessel monitoring services, which are located in Valdez, to anticipate and take action when necessary to prevent collisions and address other navigational issues. The council reached out to Alyeska, the U.S. Coast Guard representatives, and other pertinent entities in regard to the need to address this issue, and that's been going on for a while. Of major concern is response from the Coast Guard because they're responsible for the maintenance of this equipment. Until recently, the Coast Guard administrators in Washington, D.C. have been slow or unresponsive in addressing this issue. However, we have a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. who works well with our congressional delegation and knows his way around. And so he has become involved in this matter, talked with our congressional delegation, and this has resulted in some face-to-face contact between our congressional delegates and the Coast Guard Commandant. Recently, and this is just within the last couple of or 3 weeks, I believe, a letter addressing these concerns and signed by all members of our congressional delegation was submitted to the Commandant. Subsequently, our lobbyist has detected a renewed interest among Coast Guard officials in regard to the issue, and he predicts that we'll see some action on that in the near future. Another concern is concerns spill prevention and response within the Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation. 7 positions have been cut at the Department of Environmental Conservation, and more cuts are predicted. This compromises DEC's readiness to respond with people who are knowledgeable, informed, and prepared in regard to spill prevention and response. The Legislative Affairs Committee and our Juneau lobbyist will communicate with legislators during the upcoming session to address this concern and I assume generate alternatives if possible. Finally, there's a concern about the 470 fund, which is spill prevention and response. This fund is projected to be at a deficit by 2025. It exists to ensure that adequate money is available for immediate response to major spills and for maximizing an effective prevention program. It pays for state efforts to prevent oil spills and other spills of oil and other hazardous substances, and to maintain the ability to respond to spills. The fund is designed to be self-sustaining. To accomplish this, a 5 cent per barrel tax is paid to the state by the producers of crude oil that flows through the pipeline. The 470 fund is separated into 2 accounts. 4 cents goes into a spill prevention account, 1 cent goes into a response account. In addition, there's a 0.95 cent surcharge on refined fuel products that's collected for spill prevention. So both accounts collect settlement penalties and interest earnings, and those who spill substances are also required to reimburse the state for these costs. However, there's with this deficit looming is due to the amount of money that's available being tied to the number of barrels flowing through the pipeline. This amount is down from 2 million barrels a day to just over 500,000. And revenue from the fuel surcharge, the 0.95 cent fuel surcharge was overestimated in the design of this particular fund, and the effects of inflation were not taken into account. So these require some attention and correction. The council has passed a motion supporting revenue adjustments that include increasing this 0.95 cent surcharge on refined fuel products, inflation proofing the fund, and broadening the tax base to collect revenue from non-oil industries that are served by the fund, but they don't currently contribute to it. My understanding is that in the last legislative session, there was significant support for making funding sustainable in both Senate and House, but the legislature recessed early due to the coronavirus concerns and did not address the issue. So during this next legislative session, the council will again promote revenue adjustment. That's just kind of a real brief overview of what I've kind of seen as the prominent concerns. The council does a whole lot of other activities, and I certainly won't cover them here. However, I've ordered copies of the annual report, which just came out, and those should be provided to you within the next couple of weeks. So with that, I hope that gives you an idea of what activities are happening. And certainly take some questions, and if you have suggestions as to what you'd like to hear from me in the future, I'll accept those too. So thank you.
All right, Dr. Zink, thank you. Appreciate that report. Very pretty detailed. Lots of stuff going on. Obviously, a number of concerns from the council's standpoint there. So I'll open it up to council questions, comments.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, Kirk, thanks for that report. And I just want to say, I do have some questions that I won't ask tonight because it'll be too lengthy, but I'll catch up with you at some point and ask those. Maybe they'll be in the annual report. But I just want to say thank you for being part of that organization. Anyone that was around when the Valdez oil spill happened, and there's still stuff from it today, will definitely agree that that's an important thing to keep our eye on. No doubt about it. So thank you for that.
Bobby, thank you. You can send those questions to me at kzinck@alaska.net. And if I can't answer them, I'll take them to the staff and find answers for you.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, George. Yep, go ahead, George.
Kirk, is there an increase in ship traffic in the inlet? Is that what's driving this concern about ship collisions, radar usage, and so forth?
I don't believe there's an increase in traffic, except there are more foreign flag tankers coming in, and they present some issues. The problem is this radar hasn't been working for a long time. And so that's the concern, is that there should be an ability to track those ships. And I don't understand all of this, but the tankers have radar capability, I believe. I don't believe the smaller boats do. There's another system that they use, but right now a ship can be unknown. A ship or any other kind of vessel can be unknown in the sound, and it's again, not being an expert in that area, my understanding is that's a fairly narrow area, and there are traffic zones designated in there and so on to prevent any kind of mishap or collision. So if you want to know more, I can, again, you can also send me an email and I can pursue that.
I was just curious. The other thing is just about all of commercial aviation is using GPS for monitoring a position, and they do it in real time. Everybody I worked for in the last probably pushing 10 years is using GPS positioning to keep track of where their airplanes are. And I would imagine that the Marines part of our transportation system is doing the same thing. think radar, ground-based radar, keeping track of ship positions is maybe not as significant as it once was. And of course, the ships themselves are gonna have radar, surface search radar on them, and the little boats or pleasure boats are, I can't say always have been, not too well kept track of, that's a fact.
Well, those smaller boats in the sound are often fishing boats and that kind of thing. It has been mention of real-time monitoring. I don't recall anybody mentioning GPS, but my assumption is that that's probably in use. Again, the issue here seems to be that it's the Coast Guard's obligation to maintain this stuff, and it's not being done. And trying to read between the lines and understand what's going on, it kind of sounds like it's not the Coast Guard in Alaska that is not responsive. It's that they're kind of hamstrung by the Coast Guard in Washington, D.C. So we've got a couple ends there. Dan Sullivan, one of his aides, is a Coast Guard. I can't remember her title, but she's important. Let's put it that way. And she's a good contact. And then Roy Jones, who's our lobbyist, as I said, has a real good relationship with the congressional delegation. And Dan Sullivan has pursued this. Don Young called the Coast Guard commandant and asked him to drop by his office and have a chat. So, that's kind of where we're at. I'll ask about the GPS situation. And as I said, I'm a little unclear as to what all of the monitoring systems are. That's not really my area anyway. And I spoke to our council president, and he wasn't. I mean, he gave me a couple ideas, but I can take it up to the, as I said, to the staff and find out.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, Dr. Zink, appreciate it. Thanks for your update and report. And we'll look forward to seeing you again in the future. And then, yeah, if anyone has any additional questions or comments, they can email Kirk at the email address that he provided. So appreciate that. And then we'll look for your the annual report when it comes out.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night. Appreciate that. Before we get on to item J here, we're going to take a quick 5-minute recess. We're an hour and 40 minutes in here. Everyone get up, stretch, 5 minutes. Let's keep it brief. And then we will get through the second half of our meeting and get some business done. Okay, we'll see you guys back in 5.
Eventually, it'll be like the truck.
As soon as everyone's ready, Heidi, we'll get started.
And obviously, if you find a lot there. Take your brain one, because this is good stuff to learn about.
Would you guys like a copy?
And I ate a copy. Way back on the. That's just what we do.
We're ready to go, Heidi?
Yes, whenever you are, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We'll come out of recess, come back to order. We're going to be going to item J, public hearings. This will be, first one will be on your council packet, your regular packet, page 18. This will be resolution 21-16, a resolution of the city council of the city of Seldovia, established in the 2021 regular meeting schedule for the Seldovia City Council and the Seldovia Planning Commission. Go ahead, Heidi.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Mayor Campbell said, this is on page 18 of your regular packet. This came about in discussion with the new city manager, Friedlander, about having those meeting dates approved by council. Just to kind of set that commitment and tone for the coming year, that these are the dates that the council and planning commission are expected to be available for those meetings, and the dates that the staff at the office will be out for holidays, and that the city office will be closed. We'll also be including on our calendar regularly some of the other city supported organizations such as CIRSA and a few others. So those will be included as well.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. All right, we'll open it up for any council comments or discussion.
Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, George.
We're still sticking with Mondays. I did go through that whole calendar, but we're still talking about Mondays, basically. We're just making a commitment to those days.
Yes, yeah, it's the same days as what's already in code. It just lays it out for everybody nicely to see these are the days of the year that regular meetings will take place. You know, of course, there can still be special meetings, and meetings can be still canceled. And you see in November and December, it does say in each of those months, for the last date of those months, that meeting's as needed. Because, for instance, this year we had to have both meetings in November and December, with just the transition and everything happening. But in previous years, between AML conference and holidays, we had the opportunity where there's only one council meeting in each of those months, November and December. So those are just laid out there as if they're needed, they'll take place, and if not, then perhaps there'll be a reprieve from the second meeting of both of those months.
Super, I like it.
Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea of setting up a schedule and that it's to the public and everybody knows when we're scratching our heads what's happening. We know. So good job. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, Heidi, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Anyone else, anyone from the public have their hand raised?
Nobody from the public has their hand raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll go ahead and we'll put this back to the council for action and disposition.
I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 21-16.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to accept resolution 21-16 from Vivian, second from Bobby. All those in favor, Morrison?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan? Sweat?
Aye.
And Colberg?
Aye.
Motion passes. That's unanimous. Go to item J2. This will be resolution 21-. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Soldovia, Alaska, further extending the disaster emergency declaration for the City of Soldovia issued on March 20th, 2020, due to the current and expected impacts of the COVID-19 novel coronavirus pandemic to March 31st, 2020. I think that's supposed to say 2021, I believe. Unless that's part of the, is that supposed to say 2021 at the end, or is that from the original one? And now with the new resolution, it'll take it to 2021. I know I found a couple typos throughout here on the years.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I believe you're looking at the printed version that we discussed last week in your office, and those typos have since been remedied on the online version and the version that was supplied to the rest of the council members. So yes, that is 2021.
Okay, yeah, and this is what I printed out on tonight's agenda. So, okay, we'll just make sure we got it correct. All right, we'll go ahead and turn it over to staff. Go ahead, Heidi.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution is starts on page 23 of the regular packet. 20 pages 23 through 26, and then we also included, just so everybody is apprised of the situation, on page 27 there was a memo from KPB's resolution that they put forward to extend their emergency declaration, and then page 28 through 29 is that KPB, that Kenai Peninsula Borough Resolution 2020-84, which extends their emergency declaration as through March 31st, 2021 as well. We followed suit with the borough because we certainly look to them for assistance and advocacy with the city. The reasoning behind the declaration and that extension is that we are, even though the CARES funding is ending in December 30th, there's always the potential for additional funding. There's funding opportunities through FEMA and other agencies and entities, as well as assistance that could become available to the city in the future. But without having an emergency disaster declaration on hand, those funds would not be available, or that assistance would not be available.
Thank you, Heidi. Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up to council for comments or discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, George.
So if we did not pass this resolution and at some time in the future, we were in this funding situation again, could we then declare an emergency declaration?
I would have to look further into that. I don't see why we couldn't. It's just, I know things are moving really fast right now, especially with the federal government's finally getting together. They're moving a little bit more. And states going back into legislative process next month, so.
I gotta say, I'm just not in favor of this generally. We've been doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result and not seeing it. I think we've come up with treatment options that make the disease eminently survivable for just about anybody. It's time to get back to work.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I'm in support of Resolution 2117 in that it keeps us in sync with the borough moving forward. I think it's a necessary net that we need to have and be established. Thank you. I'll be voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Vivian. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
Yep.
I have,
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm in favor of resolution 2117. It's as long as it's going on, I would just assume that we stay with it until it's over with completely. It's changing worldwide. So I would just soon stay with it to the end. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of having a hard time hearing Heidi. So I'm just, isn't this declaration in order to extend it? I mean, following the mandates and everything with the borough and all that, but doesn't that open us up for some funding too, if it were to come along? If it
Yes.
goes any, you know, the longer it goes with the COVID,
Yes.
or is this not part of that?
No, that's exactly what it does. Should we need FEMA assistance in the next couple of months? Should we have a disaster or an outbreak, or should there be a case where that we need to seek additional funding? This will allow us that opportunity. And Rachel may be able to, Ms. Friedlander may be able to speak more.
Okay, that's,
I understand it. It keeps the door open so that should the assistance become available, we can make those requests.
yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm definitely in support of this.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Any other comments? Okay, Heidi, we'll go ahead and open it up. Public, is there anyone from the public that has their hand raised?
Nobody from the public with their hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and bring it back to the council for action disposition. I'll just chime in here real quick with one comment. I recognize where, where George is coming from, in terms of keeping these ongoing resolutions, especially when it comes to emergency declarations, and then the balance of, checks and balances, between councils, assemblies, mayors and city managers. Some stuff has gone awry with some of these things in certain cities. I don't think we're looking at something like that here. I think it is important for us to be ready to go. This has been a fast evolving issue, if you will, when funding does become available, et cetera. And then of course, if we truly did have any kind of, crazy outbreak and we needed help, we would have the ability at our fingertips to just pick up the phone and ask without having to do more immediate legislation. So I think it's a good idea, and I also support the resolution. So any other comments from council? Okay, we'll need a motion from someone. If anyone would like to bring resolution 2117 to the table.
I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2117.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to accept resolution 21-17 with the second. All those in favor, Morrison?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan? Sweat?
Aye.
Goldberg? Motion passes with 5 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. So resolution 21-17 does pass. This will take us to item J3, resolution 21-18, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia adopting an alternative allocation method for the fiscal year 21 shared fisheries business tax program and certifying that this allocation method fairly represents the distribution of significant effects of fisheries business activity in FMA 14 Cook Inlet. Staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is on pages 30 through 49 of the regular packet. This is something that comes about annually, and so far you can see on page, I think it is 31 or 32, I believe. Let me look here. The breakdown of what the City of Seldovia, the calculated allocation, and for a population of 226 is 349.90. This is the same method that the City of Seldovia has participated in over the past several years. along with these other municipalities that are included on this list.
Thank you, Heidi. All right, we'll go ahead and open this up for council discussion. Any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm in support of this resolution as usual, as we look at it all the time, every year.
Okay, thank you,
There's-
Bobby. Anyone else?
I don't think there's, I don't think there's anything different from what I gathered, correct?
Nope, it seems to be the same, I believe, if I read it
Same.
correctly, it's the same method of allocation that we did
That
last
we've been
year.
doing, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep, correct. Okay, Heidi, go ahead and open it up if there's anyone from the public that would like to comment.
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll go ahead this time, bring it back to the council for final action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 2018.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to accept resolution 21-18 with a second. All those in favor, Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Goldberg.
Aye.
Okay, resolution 21-18 is passed unanimously. All right, that's going to bring us to item J4, resolution 21-19, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia confirming the city manager's appointment of Heidi Gagel as the acting city manager for calendar year 2021. Staff, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This will be on page, sorry, let me just grab this, page 50 of the regular packet. This came about in discussion with Ms. Friedlander after she came aboard about having somebody be able to fill in if she is not available or has traveled or, you know, is taking time off. It worked pretty well with Layla and myself filling in. While we didn't have a city manager, as interim city manager, Layla and myself were able to make that happen. And so what would happen is if Rachel was unavailable or Ms. Friedlander was unavailable or not here, I would step into that role temporarily until she was back and available. And if I was not, then Layla, Ms. Janet Peterson was also included in the resolution that she would back me up if I was not available, or she would be the next person to step into that role if needed.
Thank you, Heidi. Yep, and I did, just a quick comment, I did talk with the staff about this, and I think this is a fair, you know, a formality, and I think it's a good idea too in terms of business continuity in the event, you know, anything happens, not just COVID, if we have any kind of emergency, Rachel has to go out of town, anything like that, it sets it up, you know, 2 lines deep basically for city managers. So I think it's a great idea, and I'm definitely in support of this. So go ahead and open it up for council discussion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I definitely think a good idea. I'm in support of it. I do have a question though. Where's the funding coming from to cover this? And are we also saying, I'm not sure if I heard from Heidi when she said if the city manager went on vacation, this also would come into effect. And then how does that money actually work out? It's just that the council decides that it's a good thing and we're going to find funding for what? Or I think there's a little bit of conversation there that I need to understand how that funding is going to work. If Rachel elects to take vacation, is that different than going to meetings, going to being obligated to go on city business. Can somebody clarify that for me, please?
Yep, go ahead, Rachel.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Rojas, that's a great question. So it would be upon me taking personal time, or I was unreachable. They're beautiful mountains that I definitely like to hike. And let's just say there was a tsunami that happened and I was on top of a mountain. The city as an organization needs someone identified with signatory authority who could make decisions on behalf of the organization. So if I was unreachable or away, I couldn't make those calls for the city. So taking personal leave would definitely qualify for having us put an acting city manager in place. If I was in Juneau for a legislative session or participating in Alaska Municipal League, I'm still here on city business. And we have ways of doing remote assistance in the case of an emergency were to happen. But I would make an administrative call just because our organization is so small and the duties and responsibilities of the city manager position aren't something that can be delayed. They have to be assumed right away. And so I would want to treat any staff member assuming any roles that go above and beyond their normal position with the city fairly with compensation. And so in terms of budget, that's why there isn't something identified in the resolution. And I'm really glad that you brought that up. As we work towards further refining the personnel regulations, I know that we're working with AMLJA and an attorney to update Title II, and I haven't had a chance to see that yet, but that's part of the discussion I want to have is how do we further define additional compensation for duties that go above and beyond a staff member's typical roles and responsibilities.
Okay, and I'm not sure if you cut out about vacation time. I mean, I totally agree if you're out, if you're just out and about, but how do we look at it if you're on vacation time? You decide it's time for you to take your 2-week vacation, you go away to India, whatever. How do we do that? How does that work? What's the idea?
I will give notice to council before taking any personal leave that I'm out of the office, and that when City Clerk Gagel will be acting city manager. So it'll be always like a clear form of command when I do leave the city.
Right. I guess my question is, where's the dollar money coming from? If you're on vacation, that's where you're electing to take vacation. Is the city going to budget that if you go on vacation for 2 weeks, are we having to budget paying for the acting city manager in our budget when you're electing to take vacation instead of just being in Juneau? If you're, I guess I have a little bit of a hard time. Maybe somebody fill me in, because I don't know if because you're electing to take vacation, which you should take vacation, the city then pays for someone to sit in your seat, which is a good thing. I'm having a hard time struggling with the finances that the city council is taking on. Can somebody else help me out? But thank you, Rachel. I got your point. Jeremiah, you look puzzled. Like,
yep.
Okay.
No. I'm no. I get what Rachel's trying to do. I think what she's saying is it's going to be incumbent on her to work through the budget process to identify what those dollars look like, and where they would come from, and even what that step would, what that increase would look like. So at this point, and Rachel, you can jump in. I don't think any of those have been fully identified. I know other municipalities have those systems in place where there's maybe a step increase or something for that limited amount of time. So I think it's a small dollar amount, and I'm sure we're going to have to figure out. Rachel's going to have to figure out a way to come up with with that money during the budget process.
Okay, I think, yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yep, Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think what Vivian is trying to say is, where's the money going to come from to pay for that? Right, Vivian? Basically. the bottom line. Yeah, yeah, so,
Right.
and I was going to ask the same thing. Vivian beat me to it, so, and I get what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, so, yeah, we'll have to look at it when it comes about. Thanks. Oh, I
Yes.
do think it's a good idea to have someone in her spot while she's gone, though. I do think that's a good idea. It's just, you know, a money issue, of course. Thanks.
Yep, thank you, Bobby. Yeah, and I think that's key, just to understand the resolution where it says that the assumption of these duties and responsibilities merits additional compensation that will be further defined and presented to City Council as the city works towards updating its personnel regulations. So it's basically a two-part resolution. First of all, we make the appointment. Second of all, it's incumbent on the city manager to get that second piece brought forward to the council to basically ratify that and buy in on that strategy.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
I assume we're not going to have a temporary city clerk as well. And if you're going to ask Heidi to fill the duties of the city manager and the city clerk at the same time, I think we're doggone well going to have to pay her. Just my thoughts. And also, I don't think you could find a better person to fill that position.
Thank you, George. Yep, I think you're spot on there. Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
I think that it seems more than reasonable to have that safety net in for Rachel to be able to take time off or to allow for any type of unforeseen situation where she might not be able to respond for her position. Sorry. Lost my train of thought there. And I agree with what George said. Essentially what we're projecting is for Heidi to take on a second position, the same as she's been doing in between Rachel and Cassidy. And so I think that it's more than reasonable for us to have this safety net, provided we are able to maybe project some sort of time frame and budget in what that's going to cost us. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Perfect. So it's, anyways.
Perfect. Thank you, Harmony. I appreciate those comments. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Pearlie.
What were we paying Heidi and Layla for the interim city manager? Is that be basically the same thing, or?
So I believe someone can jump in, but I don't think we ever got that sorted out. That was something that was brought up by Cassidy, and to my knowledge, I could be wrong. I do not know if that was ever taken care of in terms of coming up with a dollar amount, or a step increase amount to cover that. Rachel or Heidi, you guys could jump in. Yep, go ahead, Heidi.
So our salaries, because we're not salary employees, we're hourly employees, they are protected from disclosure. So I won't specify either of our amounts, but we did receive a small increase, and I could give you a total. It was about I think we estimated it was like, between the two of us, it was like a $400 a pay period increase to the city. So it wasn't much. It was a small compensation for what we were doing. And I don't anticipate filling in as acting city manager. I don't think that will be for very long time periods, and I don't anticipate an increase larger than that. I think it'll still be a small amount.
And probably two different fields, maybe, or similar fields, but different interim or acting city manager might be different.
Yeah, interim and acting can be distinguished as different. So I saw when Homer was going through the process recently, they do put forward an acting city manager annually as well. And then when their acting city manager ended up having to fill in with the intern as an intern position, then they granted him a bonus, an additional bonus, because it was more duties for a longer extended period of time. These would just be, if it came about, it would be a shorter, hopefully, period of time, and not necessarily a big pay increase. It just is a little compensation.
Thank you. I apologize for digging in somewhere where it's
No.
not to be disclosed.
No,
Sorry
that's
about that.
perfectly
All right.
reasonable.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pearlie.
Mayor?
Okay, any final comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think it's a real good idea to have somebody in charge in the office. And as everybody knows, stuff happens. It could be a day or 2 days or our vacation, whatever, but things happen and you might need somebody there. So I think it's a really good idea to have it on record and on the books. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yep, I agree 100%. So, all right, Heidi, anyone from the public has their hands up?
Not seeing anybody from the public at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action and disposition.
Make a motion to accept resolution 21-19.
Second.
All right, there's a motion to accept resolution 21-19 with a second. All those in favor, Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Colberg.
Aye.
Motion passes. So resolution 21-19 is passed unanimously. That will take us to item K, unfinished business. We have none. Item L, new business. L1, a letter to the governor concerning the Alaska Marine Highway System, sponsored by Colberg and Nathan. Staff.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
Mayor.
Heidi.
Oh,
Okay, thanks, Mr.
Sorry.
Mayor. This is on page 51 and 52 of the regular packet, and I will leave it to Ms. Friedlander to address, as she's been working hard with Councilmember Colberg and Councilmember Nathan to bring this letter forward to the council.
thank you, City Clerk. I was just going to leave it up to them and how they want to facilitate. This was their idea, and it's a great one. And so, council members, I'm not sure how you wanted to approach it, but I'll leave it up to you.
You want to talk, John? You want me to?
Go ahead, George. I'll go after you.
Let me just say, we started off with a little meeting with our city manager to talk about inviting the governor to come down and talk to us. I think we mentioned it at the last council meeting, and we're sort of roughed out a letter, basically telling him what we wanted to talk about. And one of the things was a change in shaping of the Marine Highway, to have it run like a public utility rather than a pseudo business. That was one thing. We wanted to consider blanketing the expenses for the entire transportation system, not just on the back of the ferry, but also spread out over the highway system as well. I think that would help. One of the other ideas we discussed was possibly eliminating the service out of Bellingham and the Canadian part of the thing. And this is supposed to be the Alaska Marine Highway. It's designed to serve the state. I don't know that we have enough traffic on the Canadian and Washington part of it to justify its existence, for one thing. And for another, we could use whatever it costs to do those runs somewhere else. was, I know I'm forgetting something. Oh, we considered briefly inviting Homer to participate in this meeting. And I think we need to talk about that quite a bit. Homer's concerns don't necessarily coincide with ours. We have kind of a unique situation here in that we're totally dependent on the ferry, where Homer really is not. And so that's someplace where we'd be looking for input from the rest of the council about what do we think, whether Homer would participate, and also some of the other ideas we talked about. So, John, if you don't have anything else, maybe we'll get some input from.
I think that just about covers it. It would be nice to be able to talk with the governor about, for me personally, it's that I'm paying in excess of $30 a mile for the use of a highway system, and everybody else in the state is riding for free. And they spend $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 billion a year reworking the land roads every year. They don't want to spend the money to operate the ferry. So that's my biggest one. It wouldn't bother me to have Homer in on the meeting also. But just to hear the governor answer all of those different questions would be nice, if he'll even attend the meeting.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think you guys did a good job on the letter. I know you worked with the staff and Rachel on that, so the letter's pretty clear, and I appreciate you taking the time to review that report. I know that was one of my concerns, just making sure that that we weren't asking the obvious again, of course, and that is debatable when you listen to Representative Stutes. I mean, she's pretty ferocious on this, and she just wants to keep pounding on the governor, and I understand that. So maybe that is the right approach. So, but I agree. I think, especially after today's meeting, listening to her, if the legislators can't even get a return call, or a response to a letter they've drafted for an invite, then it'll be interesting if a municipality or a community or ordinary citizens can all, maybe we won't get a response either. So I think she's right. Let's see how this shakes out. But I think the letter's a great idea. So to open it up to any other council comments or discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead,
Mr. Mayor?
Vivian.
Yeah, great letter. Those who got this together, great draft. I would encourage us to send it through. We've got the topic for discussion, hold to those, and see how he responds. All he can say is yes or no. And then again, if he does say no, I would insist that he, in writing, addresses the topics for discussions. But nice job. I think it's moved forward with what we need to keep doing, the squeaky wheel. Thank you very much for your time and putting it together.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Thank you, George and John, for putting this together. I think it's, we've got to get our feelings out there any which way we can. And I'm just curious, since Rachel obviously worked over in Homer, does she have any thoughts about how Homer feels about the ferry and what's going on with it right now? Can she answer that for me?
Through the mayor, council member Sweat, there is a council member in Homer that is interested in possibly getting an invite from Soldovia City Council to team up on a letter. Granted, that's just one of the council members, but overall, the mayor of Homer is very concerned with the ferry schedule and wanting it to be dependable and accessible to people in this region. So I do think you do have support in a similar way. I know Seldovia is a different community than Homer in that we're not on the road system, but I think you would find an allegiance with Homer City Council with the ferry system, especially the Tustumena.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, George, so it sounds like you will probably have some support if you guys are going to follow up with that. And yeah, good luck with this letter. I hope you get some response. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, Heidi, does anyone from the public have their hand up?
I don't see anybody from the public with their hand up at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and bring it back to the full council for final action and disposition. I do want to point out, I think there's one typo on line 13. We're on the word commission. I think that's supposed to be commissioner. That was the only thing I saw in terms of typos on there. So that's on line 13, Heidi, if you see that. And other than that, I agree. I think good discussion. I think the letter's, I think it's spot on, and I'm definitely in support of it. So I'll be looking for a motion for final action.
We need
Do we need a motion? This is not a resolution.
just new business.
Well, we want to give the staff some direction. What do you guys want to do with it?
We tried teaming up with Homer too.
You want to try teaming up with Homer?
Yeah. Send the letter off.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
if John could clarify what he just said, what does he mean? In what way team up with Homer? I'm sorry, I missed that.
If they're interested in joining in the discussion with the governor, we could do that. Because they do have an interest in the ferry system. You know, when they cut the ferry to Homer, Homer also takes a big hit. There's dunnage and everything else involved. And
Just my concern about having Homer participate is that, as I said, their concerns don't really coincide with ours. For example, we'd be pretty happy with 1 trip a week or 2 trips a week. So a guy could run over to Homer and get groceries and get back, and Homer's probably gonna want a lot more trips. I don't know, we just need to be careful and think about that. I'm not against it, but right now. And Vivian, what we're doing, we're asking the governor to participate in one of our city council meetings and also considering asking Homer to participate as well.
Right. Mr. Mayor, if I may, one comment.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
I understand that. And I'm wondering if there's this letter could be sent from the city council, and then respectively, we do another letter in a joint effort with Homer, because the issues are different. They're losing tons of revenue if the ferry doesn't make stops in Homer. We're losing our transportation. So I almost think the letter needs to be our own invite to the governor and see where he comes, and then maybe another letter. I don't know. Rachel, maybe you could fill us out what your vision was with that, or where you come from with the including Homer, in what way?
Through the mayor, council member Rojas. So initially I was thinking that Seldovia City Council would hold off on sending this letter to the office of the governor to see if Homer City Council would like to co-author something, so that you had a joint municipality effort in getting his office or a representative from his office to respond. I think you could also send this letter separately, and then if you wanted me to, on behalf of Seldovia City Council, I could share this with the city manager of Homer and say that, you know, Seldovia City Council just sponsored this letter, and they were wondering if Homer would like to co-write something together, do another invite. But initially when council members Kohlberg and Nathan wanted to work on bringing the governor to Soldovia to talk about the ferry system. And I was thinking about Homer. I was considering a joint authored letter from both cities.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
If I could respond to that.
Yep, go ahead, George.
I'd definitely not be in favor of asking Homer to participate in the production of the letter. I think this is our deal, and we should try to keep it on our terms as much as we can. Let's invite the governor and then invite Homer to participate, but I don't think we want him involved in the production of the letter, is my thought.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, George, I have a question for you. Based on what Vivian said, would you be objecting to doing a second letter if the council agreed that to submit this letter? Would you be objecting or okay with reaching out to Homer to see if they're interested in co-authoring a second letter as a joint effort?
Well, I don't know. That's not a hill I'm willing to die on. I don't think that's a particularly good idea, but I wouldn't oppose it if other folks were interested in doing that. My thought again about the participation of Homer was to get them to participate in the meeting. And I'd like the city of Soldovia to set the agenda and so forth for the meeting. You see what I'm saying?
Yep, understood. Okay,
Mayor?
any other comments? Yep, Pearlie, was that you?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
I would definitely be on board with sending this letter in and then hopefully working something with Homer and getting another letter sent in there. And like we've been mentioned a few times this evening, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I think the more opportunities that we have to send something of that nature, maybe we can get that squeaky wheel greased. But we do also have to remember that it's always the first one replaced. So, yeah, I'm all for sending this one in and redoing another one, and let's do another one next week. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pearlie. All right, so Rachel, without a motion, what we're gonna need, you're gonna need some clear direction here. So I think what we're gonna need, I'm just counting here real quick. 1, 2, I think 3, 4. I think we might need a motion here to do something because there's a little bit of dissent here or split opinion on this. So I think that's just the easiest way is if someone sponsors a motion to do what they want to do, and then let's see where it goes.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yep. Yes, I'll make a motion that the city council sends the letter that we have in front of us from to the office of the governor as written from the city of Soldovia. And then within that motion, I would request that our city manager contacts Homer and that we draft a letter in with Homer Council or an entity over there, sharing our concerns and overall big picture, but that the two items are separate.
Okay, yep, that seems pretty clear to me. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we do have a motion to submit the letter as is, and then the second part of that is to reach out to Homer and try to work with their body to submit a second letter. We do have a second on that, so we'll go ahead and put it up for the question. All those in favor, Morrison?
I'd like to ask a question on that, if I could, before I vote. Is it too late?
No, you can ask for clarification, you bet.
I would think that seeing how we were kind of the author of this first one, if we could get on board and let Homer be the lead in this and then be a supporting entity, I guess would be the word, in their letter.
Yeah, I think what we can do is, instead of getting muddy in the waters here with a bunch of amendments, is just ask Rachel to make that, reach out as a liaison and see if she can make that happen, see what their interest is. And then we can bring that back as a separate item.
Aye. On the resolution, aye, or the motion, I'm an aye on that.
Okay, so Mr. Morrison is an aye. Rojas?
Aye.
Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
I guess I need some clarification too here. What we're voting on is to send a letter as written and then ask Homer to send a letter as well that they're gonna draft?
No, we would have Rachel reach out to Homer to see what their interest is in co-sponsoring a letter. And that's as simple as that, what their interest is in co-sponsoring a letter. And then that's its own separate piece. If they come back and say, yes, we are, but we want to be the lead, or no, we don't want to be the lead, then that'll be a separate piece. But at least our piece of business will have been accomplished by submitting our letter on our terms.
Okay, I'm an aye.
Okay, you broke up a little bit. Are you an aye?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Sweat?
Aye.
Colberg?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Rachel, you're clear on that? Are you good with everything? Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, so the letter will be sent as written, and then city manager will reach out to the city of Homer and see if they're interested in co-sponsoring or co-authoring a secondary letter to cover both of the community's interests. So I appreciate George and John coming up with the letter, working with the city manager on that. I think we'll be interested all to see how and when, if we get a response. So, okay, moving through, looks like item M, administration reports, treasurer's report, M1, and that is in your laydown. And we want to go ahead and let Jan take that one away.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep, loud and clear, Jan.
Terrific. So I'm going to mostly just refer to the narrative section, which is in your laydown. And then if you have any questions on the spreadsheet, please feel free to ask them. I'm still kind of stumbling my way through addressing some of your interests and so on. As you can see, just kind of going down the narrative report, our unencumbered funds are increasing a bit so far. We're averaging about $2,000, well, about $1,500 a month on interest on the AMLET fund. Our expenditures, we are continuing to track a little bit behind budget on expenditures, which of course we're happy about, being at 41% right now for the fiscal year. Revenues, we are well ahead at about 108% of projected revenues, largely because I think some of the COVID-related economic impacts were not as severe as were anticipated when the budgeting was being done in February and March. So we're happy to see that. In terms of our special revenue funds for water and sewer, we're halfway through the year, and so we're about where we expect to be there, between 40 and 50% on those funds. The December funds we have not billed out for December yet, so the revenues are not showing the December revenues, or just the revenues through the end of November. Dock and Harbor, Dock is really right smack dab on target at 52% of each. Probably we'll be seeing that fall a little bit as the ferry goes away here for a few months. And then Harbor is the converse of that. We probably expect to see the Harbor pick up as we start billing out in the next couple of months for annual slip leases and that type of thing. And kind of the same thing with the boat haul out. This is kind of a quiet time of year for obviously for that fund, and we expect to see that pick up again in the spring. The main area where we're seeing a big diversion from the budget is in the audit fees. Pretty much every department, we have exceeded what was allocated for the audit fees, and so we will be looking at a budget amendment for that in particular. And Rachel and I are hoping to spend a lot of time in the early part of January looking at both the budget amendments that are necessary, and then in partnership with that, looking at our CARES Act expenditures. As you know, the CARES Act spending was due to wrap up here on Wednesday, and then last week, well, really yesterday, the president signed the legislation that will extend that through December 31st of 2021. And so that gives us a lot more time to really look at that CARES Act funding. And so we're gonna spend some time looking at both the CARES Act and our regular budget, and just making sure that we have allocated expenses properly between what's been routed toward the CARES Act and what's been routed to the regular budget. And so we're gonna be kind of looking at that all as one big picture. And so a lot of the budget amendments are going to be informed by the CARES Act funding, if I'm making sense there. The borough funding is not extended, at least last we heard. That is still wrapping up on Wednesday, but we are pretty well on track with that funding. And so I don't anticipate we're going to have a lot of trouble with allocating that out and meeting the budget categories that we said that we would with the borough CARES Act funds.
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask a question. Hey, yes, Jan. Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Okay, sorry. Jan, so answer me this. So if CARES Act has been now projected to the end of 2021, does that mean invoices don't have to be in this month? Like, for instance, when we were going to put the shower in down the fire hall, that was going to go on our dime, but has that now been continued through this next year?
Correct. Yeah,
great.
That does give us more time, because we don't have that deadline to have items received that we were working on until last week. So that does give us time to complete some of those projects that we wouldn't have been able to do with CARES Act funding otherwise.
Great. And now explain to me why these audit fees are running well above budget. What is that? Why is that?
Honestly, I don't have a good answer for that, but I have to find the time to go back and look at previous year's audits and find out what those cost. I have not had time to really sit and figure out if what their costs are based on why they're running so much higher, and obviously, is there something that we can do on our end to prevent that from happening again? I'm afraid I don't have those answers yet, but I hope to soon.
Okay, thank you. And so looking at our different revenue funds, it's really the harbor revenues are 1/2 of this expenditures. Is that COVID related because people did pay for their slips? Is that what we're pretty much projected, that loss of revenue?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that, Vivian.
Oh, sorry. I was just looking at our revenue funds and looking over the harbor special revenue fund, where revenues are 15% of projected revenues, but our expenditures are 36%. That's the only really department that's in the, looks like it's in a little bit of a hurt situation. And my question is that related to slips in the harbor or not?
So I am, again, because this is kind of my first, I'm still seeing my
Okay.
way through a year for the first time, but my guess for that is a big part of that is that we bill out for the annual slip fees between February. And so a lot of the revenue should be coming in as a result of that. And so, you know, we start the fiscal year in July. Most people have already paid for their slips.
Right. Okay.
Those revenues
So
are
that
already in
makes
place.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Thank you,
Mhm.
Jan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Burley.
Yeah, Jan, the COVID relief stuff will pay for some of these audits, correct?
We are charging some audit fees to the COVID, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and
But
just to comment, I suspect some of the increased audit expenditures are still a result of the cleanup from the Cassell debacle. I don't know if we've had did we have an additional audit this year, or just more additional days, or prep on, you know, their back end once they get back to the office and, you know, preparing the narratives and stuff. So I suspect, Jan, when you dig into that, you'll be able to come up with something fairly obvious on the audit expenditures.
Yeah, I hope so. I just to retreat back to Mr. Morrison's question a little bit. We are tracking some of the audit expenses to the CARES fund monies, but that's not, or that's already taken into account in these spreadsheets. So we won't be pulling money back out from the other departments. That money has already been pulled out. And in terms of the audit expenses itself, yes, I am meeting with Cassidy to talk about some things on Wednesday, and I hope to get some more information from her about this as well, because she just obviously has a lot more historical knowledge than I do. We did have someone from the auditor's office come down for a week prior to the audit and help clean things up. Obviously, that was an additional expense, but it's not enough to completely account for the overages that we're seeing. And so I am hoping to, figure out if we just didn't budget enough, or if there's something that's causing these audits to run above budget that we can rein back in the future.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, Jan, follow-up question. And I know it's only been one day, and I know that bill was thousands of pages long. Is there been any scuttlebutt at all in terms of if there's going to be additional monies in that new relief bill that will flow down to municipal government again?
In this bill, there was, my understanding is that there may be some funding for particular projects related to like vaccine distribution and public health and so on, but there's not the just kind of general aid that was in the CARES Act in this bill. They actually specifically did not allocate to state and local governments for just general revenue relief and so on. There has been some talk that may be something that is attempted again in the new year with the new administration. There's, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing in the bill that was signed yesterday that will be passed through us.
Yep. Yeah, I know it's been fairly contentious. So, okay, thank you. Any additional comments, questions for Jan?
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask Jan one more question.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, Jan, I'm looking at the Seldovia space in the general fund revenues. And I presume underneath July, August, September, our rents that were collected, but I'm not seeing anything for October, November, December. And I guess I'm a little bit concerned looking at moving forward, going forward, that we made revenue is $2,185 and our Seldovia space expenditures are twice that. And I know that probably will change once all the remodeling is done, but could you explain to me why there's nothing for October, November, December? And if that is rent?
And I'm sorry, I'm scanning, trying to get to the proper page here.
Oh, I've got it on page 6. Mine is showing up page 6. I don't know if that helps you out at all.
I'm looking at the actual spreadsheet, so I'm afraid my page numbers don't coincide. I'm trying to find Seldovia space. I do know that we do have at least 2 offices and I believe 3 in Seldovia space that are rented. And so there is revenue in those months. I'm not quite sure why it's not showing up. It does show up in facility rents and the general fund revenues, and some of that is Seldovia space.
Okay. Yeah, it's just something I think that we need to keep our eye on when we start setting our fees to know where we're really at. We don't need to be in the hole. But okay, thank you, Jan.
No problem.
Anyone else? Okay, Jan, thank you. Appreciate your report. And that's all that we have on our side. Okay, we will move on to item M2, City Manager's Report. And this will be in your regular packet on page 53.
Thank you, Mayor.
Take it away.
As I shared with council last meeting, you guys were so patient and me going through the manager's report verbatim, basically. And so I had shared that for future managers' reports, I would just be here to answer any questions that council members had on the material that I presented. So without further ado, I'm here if you have any questions.
Mr. Mayor,
if
I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Rachel, on the 2021 council retreat, I was trying to see where you talk about maybe that you'd be distributing paperwork for each council member to complete with their personal priorities. Were you thinking that was going to be a list of what we've all brought to you instead of us creating new or just a checklist and we can number them 1 through 3, 1 through 5? I was just thinking that might be a little bit more efficient. Is that what you had in mind, or?
Councilmember Rojas, you'll see in a little bit, we just finished reviewing some of the documents today, and it'll be a little bit more extensive just because it'll be available for the public. So it's an opportunity for you to add more information than what we shared initially in our one-on-one meetings, which were very brief. We were covering the whole gamut topic. So it'll be a little bit more extensive. I think I've been calling it Councilmember Homework to make it a little bit more fun. But yeah, you'll be seeing that in the next little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions for the city manager? I'll just make a quick comment. Yeah, I like, Rachel, I like the new, this new format. In bold, you can see the highlight of the topic, and then obviously very, very detailed reporting under each one of those. So I read that. I like the way that you put that together. So that's fine for me. I mean, that way, if anyone needs to go back and look at something, it's in writing and it's pretty well detailed here on all of this. So I appreciate you taking the time to put this out in this format. And then most of the items on here, it's all good information. And then yeah, I guess it'll be up to us if there's, more or less that we want to see going forward. So, but I think this is a good amount of information, again, and very detailed. So thank you for that. So, any other questions, comments from council?
I had one.
Yep, go ahead.
I did have a question about the water consumption. Those months where it's in the millions of gallons, was that the leak on Anderson? Rachel?
You're on mute.
Oh, I am?
My bad. Through the mayor, Councilmember Sweat, I'll have to get back to you on that. I just pulled the numbers from the Excel spreadsheet that our public works staff sent over. So I'm not sure when the leak fell into those time periods.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the millions, that's the whole month.
Yeah.
And gallons a day is on the right-hand side there. For the 2.011 million, it's 67,039 gallons a day.
That has to be the leak, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's not too bad, not as bad as some.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, Heidi, do you want to clarify?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you guys are looking at that, what Bobby and John are speaking to is on page 56, and that those hundreds of thousands of gallons are compiled data for a couple of weeks' time or a full month's time. But if you see in the parentheses, you'll get your daily average, Bobby. So really, it's 45,000 gallons a day was the daily average at the end of September. October was the 50,000 gallons a day, and November and December, you'll see a little increase in November, which is when we had that water leak. It's the beginning of November. It was noticed October 31st, I believe, or October 30th. The water leak was noticed, and then it took 3 weeks to be able to, or a couple weeks to be able to close that leak. So you'll see there is a little increase to that 60,000 or 67,000 gallons a day average. And we can supply those numbers for the day at a later time. But then for the first half of December, we're back down to 63,000 a day average.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, any other final questions for the city manager's report?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to compliment Rachel on this letter for Monco's water taxi. Great asset to our community here. He brings in a lot of tourism and certainly helps out the locals as far as getting back and forth on stormy days and whatnot. So thank you.
Thanks, Burley. All right, we will conclude that. We'll conclude the city manager's report, and we'll move on to item M3, chief of police report. That's on page 69 of your packet. And I see we got the chief in attendance tonight. If he wants to give us a little quick anything, and then we can ask questions.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor and City Council. In the short days I was here, I arrived on, I'm not going to repeat it verbatim, but pretty much I came in on the 14th when I got back into town, and everyone knows what happened on that day. Since then, I'm around, averaging about a call a day, different complaints and routine patrols and follow-ups and all that different stuff that I've been able to do, including also medicals I've been going out on. And I guess Jan can understand that. I'm getting my reciprocity over to become my paramedic license here where I've been, so I've been assisting them on medicals. Just staying busy right now and just starting to learn the different things on the way the city's running and enjoying it. So that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Any questions from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
when do you expect you're going to school?
I will be starting, it's in January 20, I think it's the 26th or the 22nd. I have it written down on my calendar here. I'll get that exact date to you. It'll be in Sitka and
3 weeks?
yeah, it's about 2 to 3 weeks, I think. I'll get the actual dates. I think I've already given it to Rachel all the days and she has it copied down for what costs and stuff. But I hope after that, then it'll be able to mesh what I know into the Alaska laws and be able to, from what I've already talked with the old chief Cushman, he was explaining that this will help me out a lot in being able to do the job even better. So I understand what your guys' laws and stuff, but yeah, around 26, I think is the date.
And you said there is some reciprocity with your paramedic?
Yeah, Jan got me, since she's over the EMS, she's got me on the website and I'm getting that set up right now. And I'm already logged in. We're just working through that. So I respond already on the medicals as law enforcement, and I've just been helping out with the other paramedics and medical people as needed, wherever they need me. It's a good help out where I can. So.
Any other questions? Okay. Clayton, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, no, we're super fortunate to have you, especially on the, it's a double bonus with the EMS side. So obviously you've got your indoctrinated here into that, whether you liked it or not. So we appreciate everything you've done so far. So thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, Harbor Masters report, and that's also in your regular packet on page 71. And I'm not sure, Heidi, is Layla here tonight or no?
She is not, Mr. Mayor.
She's not, okay. Is there any questions from anyone on council regarding the Harbor Masters report?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Pearlie.
I heard at one time we were, way back in Charles's time, they were thinking about putting a roof on that oil dispenser, the oil containment down there at the harbor. Did that ever happen? I don't see that it has, but.
I don't think so. Last time I was by there, I didn't notice anything, so I don't know.
Charles was asking me. I just know Charles was asking me when he was still on board, they're trying to get some info on how to build it and what to do with it, but anyway, it would be nice.
Heidi, maybe you can make an inquiry to Layla about that.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. I will bring that back to you guys.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on the Harbor Masters report? Okay, we'll move on down to the Public Works report. That's also in your regular packet on page 73.
Mr. Mayor, I have one question.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yep, Rachel, do you have an update as far as when Jordan will be going for his water and wastewater certification? Is there courses coming up that we have a date for him yet? For Jordan Cameron?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Rojas, no, I don't have a date yet from Jordan for when he can attend. And I was told though that there is the opportunity for him to work with Kevin, who's with Alaska Rural Water.
Alaska Rural Water.
Yeah, to get assistance in completing his certification without having to go take a class in Anchorage. So then
Oh,
now
good.
he can take the test online is one of the last updates I've had on that.
Okay, great, great. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more question.
Yep, go ahead, Pearlie.
Did I miss somewhere now that we have Rachel on board? Is Layla still doing the maintenance portion of the city? Or I know when her and Heidi were interim, Layla was kind of handling that department. Is that right? Or if I could ask Heidi?
Yes, I can speak to that through the mayor if you'd like.
Go ahead, Heidi.
So actually previously, before Cassidy put in her resignation, she had approached Layla about helping out with the Public Works Department with logistics and just making sure that they have the supplies they need and communication for different projects. So she's still in that role, helping just to ensure that they have what they need to be able to be successful in their position.
Okay, I seen something on here, the cleanup added value building, that's quite a ways away from the harbor. Did she get? So she's taking care of a lot of different areas, not just the harbor.
Correct, and she has been for a long time. She helped facilitate all of Sylvia Space's renovations, this building's renovations, inventory on city lots. She's been a very big asset to the city over the past year and filled a lot of roles that are outside of her harbor master duties. And a little bit of her time is being allocated to Public Works for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. George, you had a question?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, George.
Where are we on the water system, sewer system inventory, the GPS program?
Any updates on that, Rachel?
Through the mayor, council member Nathan, we have contacted both Evelyn and Kristen and have not heard back from them after the council meeting. So we've sent already a couple emails, and I even asked City Clerk Gagel to bird dog them too to see if we could get a response. So it's the holidays and people are taking leave, so I don't know if that's what it is, but we haven't heard back from them since that meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would anticipate things will pick up again here after next week, after people get back from their holiday vacations here. So any other questions?
I have one.
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
So just looking over the city works list here, and it says that they service the multi-purpose room boiler. Anybody who's spent any time in that building, particularly downstairs, knows how hot it gets in that building. And, you know, I think there's even a window right behind George there that's like permanently open. And my thoughts are, you know, that can't be cheap to maintain that heat level. And I know that that's not an intentional thing. I'm just wondering what the status is on that. Have we looked into replacing the boiler? I know that's like an exorbitant cost, but certainly the fuel on heating that building has got to be exorbitant too, right?
Yeah, I can let someone from the city chime in, but I believe AIRS did take a look at that, and that's why it's ongoing. But hopefully there was some progress made on that here this fall when they were here. Rachel, yeah, if you had anything to add to that.
Through the mayor, council member Payton, AIRS provided a quote for the boiler initially at $8,000. I've asked Public Works staff to get 2 more quotes because I'd like us to have 3 quotes if possible to make sure we're doing competitive procurement. And most likely it'll be brought forward to Seldovia City Council as an emergency ordinance. They want to replace that boiler. In fact, that building needs 2 boilers. Public Works staff member Cameron was saying right now it's operating off of 1, and if that boiler were to fail, that building would be in trouble. So it's kind of like our sewer lift pump replacement where that really needs to happen as well. So I'm just waiting for Public Works staff to give an additional quote so we can get something before council. There was discussion of possibly using CARES Act dollars, and so I need more information from staff why this would be an eligible expense for that as well.
Okay, excellent. That's all I had.
Thank you, Harmony. I had one last question on the water leak on Anderson Way. I noticed I think it was fixed a little while back, but the cones and stuff were still out there. Does anyone know, is that just because maybe the roadbed's soft and they're letting it set back up, or any idea why the cones are still out there? Rachel probably does not know. Heidi, do you have any idea?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, at this time, I do not, but I can inquire because I've been wondering the same thing. And I do see that we have a hand raised from the public when it comes time for allowing public comment if you would like.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, George.
One of my constituents said that they were told that the cones are gonna have to stay there for a period of time, possibly till spring, because the ground got so soft.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I would agree with that. That I was just curious, more of curiosity than anything. So, okay, great. Heidi, you said there was a member of the public that had their hand up.
It looks like, oh, yep, it is Miss Laurel Hiltz.
Yep.
Yeah, Jeremiah, I think probably that 17,000 extra gallons of water a day that was flowing into my parents' driveway, that basically undermined that whole road area. So even the work that they did, it's so wet. And even with the ground freezing, it's just going to be a bog city. I think it's hopeful talk that come spring that'll harden up. Spring usually has rain, so I would expect that more degrading of that road would happen unless there's some real work done on it. And as the council goes forward with setting goals for the months and the years to come, I think a very definite look at how to redo Anderson Way's water system should be towards the top of the list, because the city has put countless hours and countless dollars into patching up a line that continues to break. And this time it broke under the weight of the city's equipment. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, thank you, Laurel. And I know that, yeah, we have a number of capital improvement projects that water and sewer related that need to be done that we're going to have to figure out funding for. So Heidi, you had another comment on that?
Yes, if I could just speak to that briefly, Mr. Mayor. I was informed by Public Works when they were going through the water leak process on Anderson Way that a huge stick had been replaced there over the last couple of years by Tyler when he was still with the city. And actually what is happening right now is it's the copper that's running off of the main to the services across the street. And we've been able to see a pattern over the last couple of years. You know, it was 1 had to be replaced, and then 2 and 3 had to be replaced. This was the 4th or 5th service in a line on the road on that Anderson Way that had to be replaced this time, and there's still 2 more. So we are looking at potentially the copper eroding on both of those in the next couple of years if we're seeing similar patterns, but it's not the main, and that's why it was such a quick repair when they were able to get the equipment and get into the ground. Is the service that's coming off of that main, that copper, the main itself was still intact.
Yeah, and I'll comment on that too. And this is why I was I'm a big proponent of our the new water inventory, you know, system, if you will, to be able to document all this stuff. Every single leak that I've seen when the guys had stuff opened up over the last few years has all been copper line failures. Every single one of them darn near. And there are a lot more of those to come. If you've got copper, you're probably going to have problems in the future. So, yeah, I think, and it may be now, but yeah, any new lines going in, we shouldn't even allow copper. It should all be HDPE going forward. So, and maybe that's what it is now. I don't recall what we have in the code, but that's another discussion to be had for sure. Maybe that's something we discussed at our meeting with Rachel. So, yeah, because it's just going to be an ongoing problem, and it's going to cost us a lot of money. So, all right, let's finish up. We're 2.5 hours. Let's see, 3.5 hours in here almost. Item N, informational items not requiring action. None. Item O, executive session, none tonight. Item P, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. And we'll start off with Morrison.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming and welcome on board, Colleen and Rachel. Say everything seems to be going pretty good. We're having a good time at it. The speakers we had tonight, great. Good meeting. I guess one other comment on that road up there. I'm not a road builder, but I would think compaction would help that road out. I can't believe that it wouldn't be drained out by now with no more water coming into it. But like I say, I'm not a road builder, so I think the cones are kind of a hazard, and if it gets to be lots of snow, it's going to be pretty narrow little pass right there. So anyway, great meeting. Thanks.
Rojas.
Yes, great meeting. I guess I would like to decide if we are going to bring forward a resolution, Jeremiah, for our Chinook salmon draft for next meeting. Is that what we should shoot for? Do we have councils? We did. It wasn't on the agenda tonight. I was just wondering where we were moving with that.
Yeah, I would agree, Vivian. I think we should get it at the next meeting because
Okay.
Our comment deadline is January 29th, I believe.
Right,
So
right,
don't
okay.
want to risk. That'll give us 2 meetings basically if we need the second meeting to work through anything. So yeah, I think we should just sponsor that and make sure that we get it on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. And then Rachel, I really do I enjoyed your the new format for your report. I appreciate that. That's very good. And a big thank you to the staff. As always, a terrific job. And I haven't met our Chief of Police Hawkins yet, but I guess I'll see you sometime or another walking about. Welcome to Seldovia, and Happy New Year, everyone. And thanks for the great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Mr. Nathan. Excuse me, sorry. Let's see, Peyton is next. Peyton's next.
Okay, so a couple of things. I'd like to speak to Vivian's, the Chinook salmon fishery in Seldovia, that is planted with money it's a sports fishery. So as we go forward with our communications with the state, we need to remember that they're not funding a subsistence fishery, even though that's what most of us locals use it for. So I think that we're gonna maintain our traction so long as we use the appropriate language when writing our letters and our comments to our representatives. And I'm very happy to share along that information. If anybody wants to reach out, I'd happily work with you guys to make sure that we keep that run in our community. And then beyond that, I'd like to echo the sentiments of my fellow council members with our new city council, our new city manager. The new format is wonderful. It's so easy to understand. I think it's very user friendly, and I think that going forward in the future, it's going to make getting people from the public incorporated in our discussion a much more fluid motion. And I think that's all I've got. Happy New Year's.
Thank you, Harmony. Appreciate it.
Oh,
And yeah,
just
uh,
kidding.
me
Can I say-
and Vivian did have a good discussion on that. So on the, in terms of the language and stuff that's going to be required in the resolution. So I appreciate you reminding us of that.
Okay,
Mr.
can I say
Nathan.
one more thing, Mayor?
Oh, yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, that's okay. I just wanted to say happy birthday to Jan Yeager.
Ah.
I think it's not today. We missed it by a couple, but still, I didn't get to see her. So happy birthday. We appreciate what you're doing, Jan.
Thanks, Harmony. I'm sure she loved being called out like that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. All right, George, your turn finally.
Okay, I don't have much. Good meeting. Appreciate the staff has done a whole lot for all of us here. I thought I saw something in the packet about the fingerling Chinook salmon program, and they, if I read it properly, we're arguing about $500 to move the smelt over here to Seldovia. I mean, if that's all that's involved here, why can't we move them ourselves? Lots of people around with boats, there's all sorts of airplanes. Seems like $500 is not enough to kill this. And it's I don't know, it's just a stab in the eye, I think, because they're looking for ways to make the budget cuts as painful as they can. Anyway, just a thought. And the other thing is maybe we can just raise our own fish. Good meeting. Thank you much. See you next time.
Okay, thanks, George. Now Vivian can chime in, but she pretty much beat it in their heads about the $500, and that's not a good excuse. So there's definitely a grassroots effort out there that we can all come up probably just in our room alone here with the $500 to cover that cost if that's what it came down to. So there's a few more things at play, but it'll all get ferreted out here before this is over. And I think they'll get a very clear understanding for how important that fishery is for our communities. So, but again, appreciate those comments. Let's see, Sweat.
Yeah, good meeting. Thanks to everyone in the city for your hard work. And Rachel, you're doing a good job so far. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Colberg.
Oh, good meeting. Thank you, staff, for all the hard work. Thank you for doing all our work on our letter for me and George, Rachel. Welcome, Chief Hawkins. On the fishing deal, we think of it in terms of subsistence, and it's for sport fishing. The only way I look at it is playing with the food is more important than living off of it. So it's not a matter of money. It's a matter of what you use it for. Other item I was going to talk on me bring it up at the next meeting. But thank you for all your hard work and have a happy new year.
Okay, thank you, John. I'll just make a quick closing comment. One is it's an administrative comment, and I at the beginning of the meeting when we approved the agenda, I missed it, but I think our agenda was labeled with tentative agenda. That should have been stricken as this was our regular agenda. And then item Q is part of the agenda here for the next meeting. That's going to be held on Monday, January 11th of 2021 rather than 2020. So Heidi, if you can just make sure and catch those notes under the approved agenda section. I know it's a little out of order, but those are typos that needed to be fixed on the approval there. So I'll just say, yeah, thanks to everyone. I know we ran late tonight. We had a lot of good public input. in terms of reports and stuff. So well worth it. And it's always good to have those folks participate. So thanks to the staff. Again, welcome Chief Hawkins, Rachel, thank you. Appreciate everything. Heidi, same with you, Jan, the rest of the staff. So thanks everyone. And like I said, next meeting, Monday, January 11th. And Happy New Year, everyone. And we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second?
Second. Second somebody.
Yeah, second.
Okay, any objection? We're adjourned.
Okay, good night, everyone. Okay, good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Paper cups instead of using their, how do we wash them now?
It's
Oh, we just
just,
put them in the sink and they wash them.
we're wanting it for.
You can get paper cups and save that.
We could have the grocery cups.
You think that's all sport fishing that goes on over and over? Or do you think
Left
fishing?
some in there.
Most of the fishing down there.
I don't.
They're all people back. They get